What up? What's going on?
Trying to grapple with the whole one game left in football season, and then I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do.
Isn't that a terrible feeling?
It is. And now, unfortunately, they're pushing the stupid spring league on us, and that's annoying.
What's that?
Hard no. Doesn't matter what it is. Any secondary football league, I'm just not into it.
What is it?
It's it's called the United League now. It's the XFL and the USFL.
Is this the one The Rock's involved in?
Yeah, well, The Rock was in charge of the XFL, which was a hunk of crap. And then
For the second time over.
For the second time over. And then the USFL, right, which was also a hunk of crap.
Also for the second time over.
Right, I think it was the USFL. Right, whatever that other crappy league was, and they both decided that they equally suck and that no one cares, so they're going to combine like a Voltron of suckiness and give us one giant spring football league that no one cares about that is now going to be shoved down our throats. Of course, like all the Fox people, like Colin has to be like, bet on the spring. Hey, we can't get enough of football. And it's true. Like, we can't get enough of the NFL and we can't get enough of college. You know what we can get enough of? Spring football. Because it's failed every single time. And don't blame COVID.
Are you trashing my Memphis Showboats?
Yes. Although I believe the Birmingham team is the champion. They're already promoting
the Stallions.
They're already promoting the kickoff of this thing. And it's just
eight teams here.
I'm not ready for it.
You want the best? Okay,
no, I don't.
Let's talk about it.
Let's get into the details.
You got the Birmingham Stallions.
I believe they are the champions.
The Arlington Renegades.
Oh, and I don't know under this new horse crap if they're going to play in different cities, but these all played in one city. They played them like down in Atlanta. So even though they like said that they were from Birmingham or said they were from Memphis, they all played the games at one stadium, like somewhere down south.
Well, and didn't they stay there too?
Yes, they stayed there.
Like everyone was in Houston or Atlanta or something like that.
It saves on travel.
Yeah, so you can't call yourself the Memphis show.
You're not from Memphis.
But they're representing Memphis.
That's like saying I really love New Orleans. That's like saying I live in New Orleans. And they're like, well, do you? Well, no, but I
party there from time to time.
Yeah, like twice a year I go down there and I get hammered on Bourbon Street. So it's essentially like I'm a native New Orleans. Like,
you know what? I don't like this showboat slander. My Memphis Showboats.
You're a Memphis Showboat.
Ball out for the city of Memphis.
I don't know if this new crap is going to be played in different cities or not.
We've got the DC Defenders.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty cool logo, actually.
Yeah.
The Houston Roughnecks.
The Roughnecks.
The St. Louis Battlehawks.
Did anyone put any thought into any of these names?
Ooh. The San Antonio Brahmas.
Yeah,
like the Bulls.
That's named after The Rock because he's the Brahma Bull.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
So that's like The Rock's.
The logo's cool.
That's an homage to The Rock.
Okay, it's got 4 lightning bolts in the form of a bullhead.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. And then the Michigan Panthers, along with my Memphis Showboats.
Oh, the Michigan
What
Panthers.
is not to love?
Are there Panthers in Michigan?
I don't know. At one point,
there are no Wolverines in Michigan. You know that, right?
Is that true?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's definitely true. We did that when did you know that Michigan played in the college football playoff?
I heard something about that.
And they won it. One of the things we were doing was comparing. It was University of Washington that was trolling the University of Michigan because they were the ones that tweeted, maybe it was the day of the game or something, about how Washington has Wolverines and Michigan doesn't.
Yeah.
They were like, good morning to the only state that actually who's playing football today that actually has Wolverines.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not here to
fun little Wolverine troll.
That's a good little dig.
Troll.
I lived in Utah for 5 years, and I can assure you, never did I see any jazz in Utah other than John Stockton and Karl Malone.
Yeah, that's the worst one.
It's the worst one.
That one needs to go back to New Orleans.
The movie Basketball, they opened the movie talking about how all the relocation has messed with sports, and he said, yeah, the Jazz moved from New Orleans to Utah where they don't allow music.
Well, think about the Lakers. It's like...
Yeah.
Where they have no lakes.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Minneapolis. Yeah, but I mean, the most egregious one is clearly, right, the Utah Jazz. Like, there is nothing jazzy whatsoever. And I got nothing but love for the state of Utah, go Utah, whatever. But the Jazz, you didn't, like the Tennessee Titans couldn't keep the Oilers. They're like, it's a little clunky, oil in Tennessee. But somehow, like, they thought that the Utah Jazz was a good.
Do you think that Salt Lake City is the worst possible place that the Jazz could have relocated to?
Find me a worse one.
Name-wise, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know, Sioux Falls or something.
That's pretty good. Well, but they don't have a team.
Well, I could.
Of cities that actually, I think you have to have at least a
Okay.
Some professional team there. I can give you soccer. And I don't think Salt Lake. I mean, it's Salt Lake, for God's sakes. At least Portland, like we're, I think, technically whiter than Salt Lake is in the metro area in Portland, but at least we have a jazz club. I've never seen a jazz club, and I roamed around Salt Lake because why the hell would I stay in Provo? I never saw a jazz club. I mean, for heaven's sakes, it's Salt Lake. Like maybe I could see like the Salt Lake like Tabernacle, like the Salt Lake Choir, something like that, you know, makes a little sense. But, you know, really? The Jazz?
Yeah. Do you think sports needs a giant overhaul in this regard?
I do think there's a lot of teams that could just use a rebrand.
Yeah. Like maybe one giant sweeping American professional sports overhaul.
See,
Yes.
I almost feel like we probably can't handle that all at once. I mean, we have enough issue when like the San Diego Chargers moved to Los Angeles and we still call them San Diego. If we did that with like half the team's mascots, we'd be in real trouble. So I think it's got to be a slow drip campaign. You know, I think we got to knock a couple off from each conference every year, and then eventually we have what we need.
Well, like I know that at least the Commanders, the rumor is, you know, the Commanders were the Redskins obviously for so long, and then they went to the Commanders and everyone hated it. And then they sold to Josh Harris, and it sounds like Harris is lobbying the league because you can only rebrand, like the league's in charge of that. You know, you can't just rebrand. That has to be cleared through the league because there's merchandise and jerseys and all that. But it sounds like Harris is, the new owner, is going to the league and being like, no, like we're not staying the Commanders, that he wants to change. So like there's a team that realized that they screwed up. They don't want to be the Commanders. I just spent $7 billion on this team. I'm not being stuck with the Commanders. There's needs to be more like the Washington Wizards. Come on.
Yeah.
Like you were the Bullets.
Where did that even come from? The Wizards.
I don't know. Well, they were the
Just the need to get rid of the Bullets.
They were the Bullets, and they couldn't have the Bullets because, well, murder. And so somehow my guess is they just were like, I don't know, what starts with a W? I don't know, the Wizards. Cool. And then the Wizards, like the most nondescript team ever. They just need to tear that thing down. Like they're going nowhere as the Wizards. There's no legacy there. There's no heritage there. Get rid of that thing. Rebrand. Now, I'm not saying the Packers or the Cowboys, but you're right. Like a third of every league could use a 100% rebrand. Just a complete teardown and start from scratch.
What's the commies guy want to do?
I don't know. It is a well-known thing that he doesn't want to be the Commanders. And who can blame him? Here's my thing too. If you spend $7 billion on buying something, this is the Elon Musk thing. Like if you spend even $1 billion on something, you should be able to name whatever the hell you want. We lost the WNBA because of that. The Zoom Info bro was going to buy it and wanted to name it it was like the Rose City Royalty. And the WNBA supposedly was like, we don't like royalty. It leads to bad connotations and subservient. And he was like, yeah, no.
Well, that wasn't the only reason.
No, but apparently it was a big reason.
The name?
Yeah.
What?
The WNBA would not let him name it the Rose City.
Well, have they
royalty.
watched My Kansas City Royals?
Well, apparently.
We're going to have to change that too?
Apparently in the WNBA, you can't have that anymore.
Well, I've been trying to find why the Washington team is called the Wizards.
Yeah.
And I can't really.
Well, because there is no reason other than it just Washington Wizards and it seemed to fit.
But there's got to be isn't there some sort of
what? Like
tie-in?
was the KKK back in the day and like the Grand Wizard, or it's big with the Wiccans? It's a wizard for God's sakes.
Well, I don't know.
And you would think with Washington, you could come up with something around the Capitol, like the Washington Capitals is their hockey team. Now the Redskins, that got a little weird, but you know, the Commanders, again, they're trying to go with some sort of military theme, even though there's 1,000 things better than that. The Wizards was just dumb. The Senators, right? Like all of those things seem to have, at least now, like when we get teams in Portland, you know, the Timbers, the Thorns, you got a whole Northwest thing. You know, there needs to be some sort of regional thing, as opposed to, I swear, like a lot of times back in the day, we were just like, I don't know, it rhymes. Like,
What if the Miami Heat moved to Minnesota?
Well, you just change it to the Freeze.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice, see?
I like that. That's all you got to do.
Well, like the Dallas, one of the best logos and uniforms of all time was the old Minnesota North Stars, and they moved to Dallas, and they just became the Stars. Yeah. You know, it's I can.
Well, the stars at night are big and bright deep in
the heart of Texas. But then then Minnesota got a new team and they named it the Wild, which, you know, what are we doing? The Wild, it was a weird time back in the 90s and the early 2000s.
I will say the Wild is better than the Houston Texans that just named themselves after the state.
Yeah, it's a valid point.
I mean, like, there's nothing lazier.
You can do a lot of cool things with Houston, and you can't.
The oil thing. And
yeah, and you can't.
I mean, you could do this. You could do the Steers. You could have done the Brahmas. There's so many different things if you wanted to do, like their mascot's a bull. Yeah. But no.
Yeah, you got the Texans. You know.
I would like to point out to the original question here today on the program. There is no recognition that Panthers live in Michigan at all.
No. Well,
so they're 0 for 2. And I don't think there are tigers up there either.
Probably not. Although,
0 for 3.
I bet you there is a tiger, because watching that Joe Exotic show, we learned that there's more privately owned tigers in these whack-ass home zoos than there is anywhere else in the world. So my guess is you telling me Ted Nugent up there, his dumb ass doesn't have a tiger running around?
I wasn't thinking of caged tigers. I was thinking of wild tigers.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Much like the grizzly bears in Memphis. Roaming freely.
Well, technically that came from Vancouver, where there are grizzly bears.
Well, see, that's another one of those ones should have rebranded.
Yeah.
Pick something in the wildlife there.
Yeah. What about them as the Jazz?
Yeah.
Why don't they swap with Utah, Jazz and Grizzlies?
Well, because there are bears in Utah, and their minor league hockey team is the Salt Lake Grizzlies. So
I mean, can they not call us?
let's work things out. Come on.
It took us one segment to figure that out.
We're halfway home already. We're doing this thing.
So stupid.
I don't even know how we got on this in the first place.
Well, you were bitching about my Memphis showboats.
Yeah, that's true.
And I wasn't having it.
Well, it is tough that I've seen a lot of ads, and I've seen national shows pretend that they're not talking about it simply because they're Lord and Masters were like, dude, you will talk about this. The idea of listening to Colin try to pretend that spring football is a great thing and that it's not because it's on Fox, it pains me.
Fox has it, huh?
Yeah, Fox has it. He, believe me, he was doing a whole thing today on it. And he had to do it last year, too. It's quite painful. But I understand it's an edict from above. But when I start hearing that, then I know that football's over. And there's a crisis that goes on in this world, at least in our country.
Yeah, there is.
When football ends, it's
it's very depressing.
There's nothing to take its place.
Yeah, you got that, and then you add the weather around here.
Yeah.
And it's tough to, the winter doldrums.
Yeah, it's real.
Very real.
It's what
do we do now? I guess we watch the NBA Rising Stars game.
I guess.
That's the Panini Rising Stars game?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Panini's still a thing? Are they doing the stickers?
I don't even know. I don't know that I'm even familiar with Panini. I was thinking that was with Panera. Is that not the same thing?
Is it like the sandwich, Panini?
No, Panini. That's a good call. Panini, remember, you didn't do the sticker albums back in the day? So Panini used to do it was one of my favorite things as a kid. They would put out a Major League Baseball one, an NBA one, and an NFL one. I don't remember there being a hockey one. And it was a book, and each page would have the 10 best players from each team. And then you'd buy at the grocery store, you'd buy a pack of stickers. It was like trading cards, but stickers. And then you would go through and you would have to put your sticker in the book. And your goal was to get obviously the entire book filled. And I was obsessed with it when I was a kid. I would go to the grocery store and beg my mom to buy sticker packs. And when you get down, the worst was when you'd get down to the last 3 or 4 that you needed, you just had to keep buying more sticker packs. It wasn't like you could go online and just order the ones you didn't want. And it was so frustrating to buy 10 packs of stickers and you didn't get one of the final 3 that you wanted. That was Panini back in the day. You don't remember that?
I may be a little old.
Well, we're 3 years apart.
Well,
the Panini didn't make it down to Salina, Kansas?
That could be another part of it. I grew up in a very sheltered area.
Yeah. It's possible.
We were not. We didn't have the privilege of the great
sticker albums
of Panini.
I loved those sticker albums, and the sad part is, I probably did that for 10 years. I don't think I ever once finished an album because I'd always come just 2 or 3, and then you tell yourself I'm going to go back, but then next, then the baseball one would come out, and you're like, well, I'm on to the baseball one. And then, they moved on to the football one.
I see the one with Jose Canseco. Yeah, I had those.
You remember those?
Yeah. I just didn't know they were called Paninis.
Well, I mean, Panini was the company. I don't know. They weren't called Paninis, but, it was whatever the sticker album was. I don't know what the official title of it.
Mm-hmm.
But, that was back in the day. We didn't have anything else cool, so we did that. We did Garbage Pail Kids. You collected baseball cards. What else were you supposed to do? They didn't have the internet. They didn't have the internet.
Just collect a bunch of crap.
Exactly. You know,
Fool us into thinking it's still worth something in 2024.
Holding on to my garbage pail kids. One day, this thing's gonna pay for my kids' education.
I've got my George Brett rookie card locked up.
There you go.
I don't know why, but I do.
Some of those things, like if you held on to like a Jordan rookie card or whatever, that thing's worth buku bucks. But now you got to get them graded, and it's a whole thing.
All right, guys. I can't tell you how busy we are around here today.
No, a lot going on.
It's nuts. Yeah, I mean nuts. Let's get started. We've got the the spinning coordinator carousel.
Yeah, including a massive shocker today out of Detroit.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Yeah. We'll get to that next, and our poll question on the fan.
The Fan invites you to play in the first annual Fan Winter Golf Classic at X Golf Tualatin and X Golf Vancouver, Tuesday, February 27th. The afternoon round at X Golf Tualatin is almost sold out, and the others are filling up fast.
Let's go while we're young.
Danny and Dusty and Isaac and Souk will broadcast live. Fabulous prizes are on the line, including a foursome at this summer's 10th annual Fan Golf Classic. Sign your threesome up now at 1080thefan.com.
Now, here's a quick look at Portland traffic.
We still have very slow traffic southbound 205 from SR 500 crossing the Glen Jackson Bridge. Southbound 5 is going to be slow from SR 500 out of Vancouver as you make your way down towards the Fremont Bridge. That's traffic. I'm David Bruce.
Hey guys, Valentine's Day is coming up. Listen to this deal for fan listeners. LaRogue Brothers have 1-carat diamond stud earrings, only $595. The entire store is on sale with savings up to 70%. LaRogue's in Clackamas and Tigard, and LaRogue.com.
It's the Fan on Demand. Service Patriots brings you fan podcasts after racking up 2.5 million listens and downloads in 2023.
Oh my God, that is impressive.
Is your heater safe? Why replace it when Service Patriots can restore it? Get their $59 27-point furnace tune-up and safety check, including a free 1-inch filter. They'll also check your AC for free. Go to ServicePatriots.com. Service Patriots podcasts on 1080.
It's hot.
The Fan.
I'm Leif, owner of Leif's Auto Collision Centers. The law gives you the right to have your vehicle repaired anywhere you want. So why do so many insurers break Oregon law by insisting you use their discount shops? Answer: by contracting with cheap body shops to secretly use imitation parts and cut repair quality, insurers bank more profit
if the doctor prescribes it for you, a lot of pharmacies don't carry it because it's so misused. Yeah. But like when you get
Sorry about your scissor.
You get your tonsils out or whatever. Yeah, you pour it over some ice and like people mix it with Sprite and like throw a Jolly Rancher in there. It's a whole thing.
Last time I saw it was at my bachelor party, not using it, not in my group.
Oh, convenient.
Yeah. The guys in the RV next to us invited us to a cornhole tournament, and we're all pre-gaming. This is in Talladega for a NASCAR event, and we got randomly partnered up with them, and the guy's like, hey, what are you drinking? And I don't know, I had some like mixed drink morning cocktail, something, a screwdriver, something like that. What about you? He's like, I just got my scissor. And I was like, dang, dude, it's like 9:30 and you're doing the codeine thing, playing cornhole? Okay.
So wait, there's no alcohol in it though?
No, it's just drugs.
No, yeah, it's just.
I mean, I suppose you can mix it.
You could, I guess.
But,
Yeah, can we, I think it's called
lean too as well, if I'm not mistaken.
That is another name for it, yeah.
Lean?
Yeah, lean or scissor. Lil Wayne was a big guy, and then he started having seizures on it.
He almost died from it, right? Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying scissorp is bad?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not good.
No way. Stunned.
Again, I'm just saying, when I get sick, if I've got like a nasty case of like strep throat or whatever, you better believe I'm going right to the drugs and I hibernate for 24 hours.
Yeah, but you just take drugs. You don't do a whole scissor.
No. I've never had scissor. I've taken codeine many of times.
I think it would be
it's
funny
wonderful.
to see strep throat suit get out of bed and his lady is like, what are you doing? Making some scissor.
Making some scissor. No, that's more of a party thing. And no, I can't say I've done that.
Got some poll question here for you.
What do you got?
AAA Heating and Cooling, family business, helping families for over 60 years. AAAIAQ.com. These are housed every day on X at 1080 The Fan. You can go there and check it out. See what we're asking you today. Mm-hmm. Every day.
Every damn day.
Not Saturday, Sunday, but.
That's true.
Yesterday's question was, who deserves the sharpest criticism following championship weekend? Dan Campbell won that at 32%. John Harbaugh not far behind at 27%. Zay Flowers, 22%. Lamar Jackson, 19%.
The best thing about that for Lamar is there were so many other stupid people out there. It really took the attention off him sucking eggs.
Right.
I still can't get over the game plan for the Ravens.
I can't either, man.
I don't think anybody can. There's no one that can wrap their head around it.
The more that goes on, again, I go back, that Gus Edwards on that second drive had a 15-yard carry. He didn't have another carry until the third quarter.
Did you guys see the stat I sent you last night?
Yes.
Illustrated it was wild.
Yes.
The Ravens' total running back carries per game from the start of the season, 24, 21, 22, 21, 19, 24, 18, 23, 27, 16, 21, 22, 15, 30, 19, 25, 17, 31, 6.
I will never be able to process that. That'll be one of those things that it'll be one of the great mysteries. Maybe 100 years from now, Amelia Earhart style, Todd Monken will finally reveal what the hell he was thinking. But
maybe he was on Chiefs money line. Who knows?
It's possible. Maybe he was on Sirzip. Maybe he was high on codeine. I don't know. But it makes no damn sense.
Today's poll question on X: who you got? Brady and Gronk, or Mahomes and Kelsey? That's it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't think there's a wrong answer there. I've always said that in his prime, there was no one better than Gronk. I thought he was the best weapon in the NFL. I thought he was the biggest mismatch. And he's a much better blocker than Travis Kelce. But if I'm looking at the totality of it and I'm looking at health and reliability and all that and the numbers, you can't argue with Travis Kelce and the rapport he had. So, again, if you told me one season, one game, I'm taking Gronk and Brady. But if you want the totality of it, at this point, it's hard to argue against Kelce and Mahomes. And they're not done. Although Kelce doesn't, as much as this resurgence is awesome, and it's amazing what he's doing in the postseason, his decline has already begun. His best football is behind him, and he's shoving the sun back up into the sky for this playoff run. But at 33 years old, I believe he is.
He's older than that, isn't he?
I think he's 33. I think next year he'll be 34. He's a year or two younger than his brother, and his brother's going to retire this offseason.
He is 34 currently. He'll be 35 in October.
Yeah, another year. And he's not going to be able to play.
I've heard rumblings if he wins this one, he might just hang it up.
I can see it and get married to Taylor Swift and go off and make beautiful babies and, have $1 billion.
I want that.
Yeah, me too. And he knows that, and he even said it, Brett Favre talked about this all the time. Lots of people do when you get old. Like, you can do it for a couple weeks. It's not it's not the rigors of playing a game or two. It's the off season. It's the grind of 17 weeks. You just, when you're 34, 35 and you have as many miles on your body, you can't do that. So if you could put him like on ice and thaw him out like week 15, Travis Kelce, I'm sure, could play for 2 or 3 more years, but this is close to the end. And there's not much more they can do, and they've broken most of the records. I mean, for God's sakes, he just beat Jerry Rice for most postseason receptions. And Jerry Rice, to me, with any record, just seems like untouchable. It's a Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio sort of streak.
I almost put 2 other quarterback tight end combos on there.
Yeah. But
then I thought, I'm just diluting the vote.
Yeah, where you? I mean, who?
They're like independent candidates.
Yeah, RFK. Who's? I mean,
I almost put Elway Sharp.
Sharp. Yeah,
that's pretty, dude.
Yep.
I mean, come on.
Shannon Sharp
was amazing.
Greatness,
and so was Elway.
Yep.
And then Rivers Gates.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hell of a combo, but you're not taking them over.
No, because they never won squat. But yeah, I mean. It's those are the two. It's Brady and Gronk, and it's Kelce and Mahomes, and the totality of it. It's Travis Kelce and it's Mahomes, and it's only until recently that everyone started hating them. Like Kelce,
I don't really get that either.
Well, it's just
I know. I guess it's just you win enough.
You win enough, and the saturation of it, and and then for some reason,
to me, it's a little like the Warriors, who were generally a likable team, but people just get tired of the same old thing, so they come up with ways.
Yeah.
Well, Draymond Green was not likable.
That is true.
Steph Curry is.
Yeah.
Green not.
That's
I think
true.
Curry and Thompson were, but I think Draymond Green really ruined it for a lot of people who.
100%. He's ruining it for Warriors fans now.
Yeah, even Warrior fans hate him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, the Taylor Swift stuff is so stupid. It's just so dumb. If you're bothered by that, I don't know what to tell you, man. You take a look at your life. You got something going on in your life. If the 35 seconds a game that they show Taylor Swift, if that bothers you, but like shirtless Jason Kelce doesn't, or when they show Jerry Jones and whatever lady of the evening is behind him, or, whatever other, they do this all the time. Snoop Dogg's on the sidelines all the time.
No one cares.
Matthew McConaughey is at every freaking Texas game known to man. And no one's like, oh my God, I can't get enough of McConaughey. And Will Ferrell on the sidelines at USC. Pete Carroll built a dynasty off of this down in LA. And
every big Kentucky game I've ever seen has Ashley Judd sit on the sidelines. Yeah.
So why all of a sudden is Taylor Swift like the devil in disguise?
And why are the people most upset about it the people who are also seem to be calling everyone else snowflakes?
Yeah. So
I think you know the answer to that question.
Yeah. So
same people that shut off the NFL when those guys were kneeling.
Yep.
Yeah. By the way, they're all back because 55 million?
I ain't watching, man.
55 million of you did.
F that league. All right. Well, there's our poll question. It's on X at 1080 The Fan. Be interested to see who wins that. We'll update you on the final results tomorrow. You can text the Vancouver Ford text line at 503-864-6326. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. VancouverFord.com. The spinning coordinator carousel. I have just now thought of a conspiracy theory.
Ooh, I like conspiracy theories.
As we were talking about this, pertaining to Ben Johnson, who is staying in Detroit.
That is the upset of all upsets.
But is he? Next,
so
here's Buck.
Now.
carousel continues to spin. I would say uncontrollably, but it's not. It's we're at the end.
Yeah, but this one is this one is shocking.
Yeah, the news today is that Ben Johnson is not leaving Detroit.
Yeah.
Many thought he would be the new coach of the Washington Commanders or maybe even the Seattle Seahawks.
It sounded like, there's only 2 jobs left, and that's in Seattle and in Washington, and that the only thing that anyone was waiting on was Ben Johnson and Mike McDonald, the offensive coordinator in Detroit and the defensive coordinator in Baltimore. And that was always the thing, is it's those two will take whatever, those 2 jobs. And it was rumored McDonald more likely to Seattle and Johnson to Washington. And lo and behold, we found out today that Ben Johnson told him no, that he's staying. One, I'm sure Detroit gave him a butt ton of money, which I've never fully understood why more teams don't do that. There's no salary cap on coaches, right? And the NFL owners print money. I think the Ford family's doing fine. I've never understood why, when you got a guy like Ben Johnson, and maybe there are guys that don't necessarily need to feel like they have to be the head coach right away, or that Dan Campbell, by all accounts, is a great guy to work for. I'm sure Ben gets a lot of autonomy as being the OC, has to take none of the blame whatsoever, right? It all falls on Dan Campbell. I never said, why not go throw $7 million at an offensive coordinator and be like, hey, Ben, what does 7 do? And you don't have to deal with any of the crap that a head coach does. You just sit there and run your offense. And I don't know exactly the details, but I guarantee that comes with a raise. And maybe Ben Johnson just didn't like the situation in Seattle or Washington, or thought that next year Detroit should be good again, at least from an offensive standpoint. Everyone comes back, basically. And maybe he thought next year there would be, better job openings. I mean, what if Andy Reid steps down next year?
Well, that's where I was going with my conspiracy theory.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah. I know you love a good conspiracy theory.
I love a good conspiracy theory.
What if Ben Johnson knows that Andy Reid is leaving? A la the Nick Saban kerfuffle in college.
Should they share an agent?
Well, I was, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just looking at that because Andy Reid has had the same agent for years. His name is Bob Lamonte.
Yeah.
And he lives in, or maybe it's Lamont. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's in Minnesota. Yeah. And I'm looking through a list of his clients. I do not see Ben Johnson, but it also doesn't have, this list has just major clients, not like,
yeah. Well, and
coordinators.
Ben Johnson only recently, he's 37. He just recently came on the scene as
No, but seriously, what if Andy Reid is stepping down? I mean, that stuff's been out there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some talk about it.
And the Chiefs are, through agents or however they do it, they're getting the word out to Ben, hey, sit tight. We kind of want to pair you with Patrick Mahomes. And we'll pay you really good money to do it. So why don't you just not take that Washington job? How about that?
Well, it's always a risky thing because the idea is that when you're a coordinator, you strike while the iron's hot, or any coach for that matter, right? It's like you never know when your name goes from, the top of the list down to mud. But you would think with Ben Johnson, again, very young, 37, and your O-line comes back, Goff comes back. The only one on your offense, Laporta comes back. I think the only one that really, Josh Reynolds will leave. So you got to replace your second best receiver, but hopefully by then Jameson Williams steps up and can be that guy. So both backs come back. There's no reason this Detroit offense should take a step back. And if you do that, if you're Ben Johnson, you should be fine. You should be, again, the top candidate next year. And I don't know what jobs will be open next year, but you're right that if Kansas City is one of them, and you're the hot name, is there a better job in all of football than running the offense with Pat Mahomes?
No, exactly. And think about, how often do coordinators, the hot name coordinator, how often does he go back to? I mean, that's weird.
It doesn't.
It was a weird move.
Yeah. The only one that I can remember is McDaniels did this when he took the job in Indy.
Yeah, I guess so.
And he came back, and the idea was supposedly is that he was the coach in waiting in New England, and they gave him a bunch of money. But that's Jim Irsay too. I don't want to work for Jim Irsay either. And maybe the Seattle one, I could see the Jody Allen thing being a problem with that with Burt Cole. Washington, everyone seems to speak highly of the Harris thing. The Seattle one, I can see. The Seattle one, no offense to Seattle, because
what are you talking about? You can see what?
Let's say I'm Ben Johnson, right? And I got my pick. Let's say I've got my pick of Washington, Seattle, or I go back to Detroit, right? Detroit's going to give me a bunch of money, and I'm young. I feel like I'm going to be fine. If I'm looking at Washington, I'm going to get to pick my quarterback. I got the second pick in the draft. So it's not going to be Caleb Williams, but you're going to get Drake May or Bo Nix or whoever you want, right? So I'm going to have a big say in that. I don't know. I haven't heard anything negative about the new ownership group or Josh Harris in Washington. It seems to be a fairly attractive situation. Most people in the NFL circles are saying that is a good job.
Yeah.
But that maybe is an unknown because it's a new owner and you don't have a quarterback. I'm saying in Seattle, I can see someone like Ben Johnson looking at this and saying, I got Geno Smith. I don't know when my next quarterback is going to come, right? And I got Jody Allen and Burt Cold. I mean, we just had Pete Carroll say that the reason he's not coming back is because people that don't make football decisions are making this decision. I'm saying in Seattle, I can see where Ben Johnson looks at that and says, nah, I'm good.
Well, he didn't interview, did he? I thought he was supposed to.
He was going to. I don't know that he ever did.
He was supposed to today, I thought. Or maybe it was
one
McDonald.
of the commenters on our YouTube link says that actually DC or Washington brass flew all the way out to Detroit for him to tell him no thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they flew to Baltimore to see Mike McDonald, too. Isn't it interesting, too, that they also had Dan Quinn, but Dan Quinn flew to D.C. to meet with them?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
By the way, Ben Johnson and Andy Reid do not share an agent. Ben Johnson's agent is a man named Richmond Flowers, who is the only agent to have played and coached in the NFL.
Oh, wow.
He also reps Mike McDaniel, Brandon Staley, Nathaniel Hackett, Robert Saleh, and Ejiro Evero.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's...
Did he go to school with Bob Lamonti?
Don't know that.
Did McVay fart on him at any given time?
Well,
he was on that commander's staff, actually. This guy was. This Richmond Flowers, he worked on the coaching staff, Kyle Shanahan's coaching staff in D.C. with McVay, with McDaniel, with all those dudes that have gone on, and with LaFleur, who've gone on to have head coaching jobs.
He was smart. He got into the money game.
Yeah.
The agent business.
Oh,
He coached alongside McDaniel and now reps him.
Well, I would imagine the Commanders are a little pissed here.
Yeah.
I would think.
Because they're now just them in Seattle sitting out there, and one of the key candidates that apparently they were waiting for is going back to Detroit. Now you just have Mike McDonald, right? The defensive coordinator of the Ravens, who's another young guy, but he's on the defensive side. And then you have Dan Quinn. And not that there aren't other guys, but it seems like with the Seahawks, those are the two guys that they like. Dan Quinn could be the leftover guy who a team settles for.
Yeah, and he's a nice candidate, but you know,
yeah, I guess.
Look, and maybe
do the Seahawks have to hire McDonald now? Like who else?
I mean, they don't have to, but it certainly seems like that is. It's either that or the one that you hear most in Seattle is Dan Quinn or McDonald. So
right, that's what I'm saying. Like, so if you don't think Dan Quinn's the guy, if they wanted Dan Quinn, they would have hired him.
You would think.
So they were waiting on McDonald and Johnson.
Yes.
Interviewed Quinn twice, but waiting on these two guys. Johnson pulls out. Now you're like, well, this McDonald guy better be good. And McDonald was there today, I think, in Seattle.
And maybe he wasn't going to get a look at either of these jobs anyways, but the OC down in Houston, now Bobby Slowick has re-upped with them. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He's staying in Houston.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So there's another one, too. When you look at, you kick this ahead, so you have and maybe we'll find out exactly what happened with Ben Johnson, or maybe, again, it just is one of those where I didn't like either one of those jobs. But going into next year, realize that you could have the Buffalo Bills could be looking for a head coach. If they fall on their face again, McDermott could be out. The Giants, if Daboll falls on his face, could be out. Sirianni certainly is on the hot seat in Philadelphia. If Philadelphia flames out, that he's getting fired for certain. McCarthy in Dallas absolutely could be on the hot seat if he flames out. I think he's just got the 1 year left, and he said he's fine playing it out. And then, if Andy Reid retires. So there is, and then of course any
there's
team
always.
Well, and then there's every team that could just get fired. New Orleans could have a place open.
Chicago.
There's
always like 8 openings.
Exactly. I'm just saying there could be some very, because if you take over the Bills, if you take over Philly, certainly would be in that. I mean, or Kansas City. I mean, some really high level quarterback play, and I'm assuming that Ben's a guy that knows that this league is about one thing right now and one thing only, and that's having a quarterback. If you have a quarterback, you got 3/4 of the battle won. And maybe he didn't love the Commanders and what they were doing with their quarterback position in Seattle and Geno Smith.
Yeah, I was reading through his Wikipedia today, Ben Johnson.
Yeah,
just because I don't know anything about him. He said that his offense is inspired by Adam Gase, Darrell Bevell, and Mike Martz.
Ooh. Well, Mike Martz was very smart.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know if you might want to keep
that coming to your town?
You might want to keep that to yourself.
The old Adam Gase offense. Whatever happened to that guy?
Oh, I don't know. He's out there with his bug eyes somewhere, probably getting paid a bunch of money to not coach.
Well, we've got more coordinator news as the carousel spins, and we'll get to that next on The Fan.
Yeah. The home of Dirt and Spray.
I'm Dirt.
What are you excited about? Malcolm Brogdon getting traded. You're excited?
I am. I want to see Scoot play. I don't care if he loses by 50 every night. I don't care if he's a minus 63 and sets NBA records night in and night out. Everything about this season is determining what do you have in your young players and how close are you to realizing the direction that you want to go.
Dirt and Spray. Dirt and Spray. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on 1080 The Fan.
There's no need to suffer in silence with erectile dysfunction. Multnomah Medical Clinic is here to help. Multnomah Medical Clinic is the first clinic in the area using a pain-free, pill-free, and non-surgical solution. Say goodbye to your ED problems and regain confidence in the bedroom with Multnomah Medical Clinic. Don't wait any longer. Reinvigorate your intimacy today. Stop treating the
Yeah, so we're talking about these coordinators here and all these dudes and these coaches and all this money and all this stuff.
Well, if you're a Detroit or a Houston fan, it's a good day today with Slovic and Johnson coming back.
Well, it's a great day in Detroit because as far as I'm concerned, Ben Johnson's the best thing the Lions have going.
That's their best chance at getting back. We talked about this yesterday. If they lost him, their chances of getting back to where they were.
I honestly don't think I don't know. I like Dan Campbell. Everybody loves Dan Campbell. I don't know.
On the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
The Nick Sirianni thing is a good comp, where Nick Sirianni gets a team to a Super Bowl and then loses his coordinators, and what happened? I mean, they were still winning games, but that was a meltdown. Yeah. Is Nick Sirianni really that good, or did he have good coordinators? Dan Campbell has a hell of an offensive coordinator right now. It wasn't their defense that got him where they were.
No.
It was their offense. So them keeping him, that was enormous if you're a Lions fan.
And I'll give Dan credit. I mean, he's a culture builder, and he got people to buy into that, and they're a very physical, rugged team that's built around him. And they got a nice thing coming up in the draft where they really only need, a couple positions. Like I said, Reynolds will leave in free agency. The O-line's back. You have one of the very best young tight ends in the game, two very good backs, a quarterback that you have under contract this next year. They'll work on an extension. He said that he wants to stay there. So in the draft, if you could go out and find a slot receiver, and those aren't hard to find, and then really you probably need in free agency to go out and land a corner, and then in the draft I would probably take a shot at another two corners and bring in some new blood in the secondary. You're great against the run. You could use another pass rusher there. But, I mean, these are all very fixable things. And, I mean, they were number one or number two against the run. Their offense is fine. If you patch a couple holes up on that defense, especially in the back half of that secondary, look, there's no reason that Detroit has to be a one-hit wonder. Will they get back? I don't think they were great this year. They were very good. They were the 2 seed. Don't know if that's going to happen again, but they really shouldn't fall off. If you're looking at young teams to buy the stock in right now, and I think the coordinator's coming back, I think there's a lot to like about Houston, and I think there's even more to like about Detroit, at least in the short term.
Apparently the Commanders brass were on their way to Detroit to meet with Ben Johnson when they found out that he was staying staying there.
Yeah.
And then Schefter tweeted that Ben Johnson was not the head coaching lock that people thought, and his asking price spooked some teams. So they were saying he was maybe looking at like $15 million a year. And Seahawks are like, no,
not so much.
37, only been a coordinator for 1 year.
And what I had heard or seen was that the Seahawks would balk at his ask, but the Commanders might just pony up.
Well, and if you're Ben Johnson, you put another year like this together, and he looks at that and says, there's no reason my offense can't be the number one offense in the NFL next year. We make it back, and all of a sudden that $15 million asking price isn't so absurd. And there is an element to that, and I don't know what teams are willing to pay, but let's say, let's say someone's willing to pay you 8, 7 or 8, and you're like, I want 15. That, I mean, we've seen a lot of coordinators. Look at Spags, right? In Kansas City, who's one of, if not the best defensive coordinator in football. He absolutely flamed out. That guy masterminded 2 Super Bowl wins over Tom Brady, for God's sakes. And he absolutely flamed out as a head coach. And
he's in his best role right here, right now.
And he'll never get another one again. But you know what you do get when you sign a 5-year deal and you get it for $15 million a year? You get that money guaranteed no matter what. You've taken care of your career. So if you're Ben Johnson, I'm sure Detroit ponied up an extra couple mil for him. I mean, that's what they said about Slovic, too, is they said it comes with a big raise. Now, we're not going to find out probably what that number is, but why wouldn't you come back, cash a couple bucks in your pocket, and wait for the big payday? Because if you can get, 5 years at $12 million per, or 5 years at 14 or 15, regardless of what happens there, you can always go back to being an OC, and you've got your foot in the cash register, and you're done for forever. Because if you flame out as a coach, Adam Gase, or, again, any one of if Sirianni flames
McDaniels.
out, it's just, thanks for coming. You're not getting another one.
So a couple of other coordinator notes. Jimmy Lake, remember him?
Yes.
The former Washington coach.
Yeah, he's back.
He is. He's going to be the defensive coordinator in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. He's worked with Raheem Morris several times.
And he was in he was in LA as their associate head coach. And the funny thing about Lake, again, this is another one. Jimmy Lake was viewed as the best young defensive coordinator in college football. Like, Washington had a very good defensive coordinator who's now in Texas, and they moved him to co-coordinator and let Jimmy Lake call the defense because they didn't want to lose Jimmy Lake. And like, he was just viewed as this absolute rock star when they had those sick defenses in Washington. They went to the college football playoff. And then Jimmy Lake takes over that head coaching job, and everyone was like, oh, God, slam dunk. Jimmy Lake is a rising star. He's Dan Lanning. And then he flames out spectacularly. And now his name is absolute dog mess. Everyone's making fun of him. He goes quietly to the NFL and puts together, again, a nice resume. You look at what they did with the Rams this year. They did a tremendous job with a roster that wasn't very good. And now he parlays this into a job in Atlanta. That's a guy that really has had like a phenomenal rise to his career outside of the one time he got that job in Seattle, and it was a disaster.
Well, didn't he kind of get exposed up there? Like, he was just.
I'll tell you what, he's not a college head coach material. I'll tell you that. But can he coordinate? Absolutely.
From what I understood, he was super. He didn't want to like include any of the old Huskies and like want to do his own thing and not piggyback off of Chris Peterson and get help. And it was like, dude, why?
It was a disaster.
So do you know how many games he coached up there?
Not many.
13.
Yeah. And then they had
7-6.
Yeah, the punch into the player and all that. And then
he got fired mid-season. So he coached the COVID year. They were 3-1. Yeah. Next year he went 4-5 and they turfed him.
Yeah. And so now he's, good for Jimmy Lake for having it, going to the NFL, and he's had a career resurgence, and we'll see what he can do as a coordinator now. He ain't getting a job in college anytime soon.
That was a really weird flame out.
Yes, because he was viewed as an absolute slam dunk.
You don't see him flame like that.
No.
And the other bit of news, well, here, let's put a pin in this because I have a feeling somebody will like to bitch about this one coming up next. We've got one more coordinator hire worth mentioning here. And we'll get to that when we return. We do have some MLB to Portland news. Did you guys catch any of that?
I did see that. Someone, in fact, texted in on that.
On the Vancouver Ford text line?
Yes. They were like, hey,
what?
Are you guys going to discuss the Cheek news and MLB
Cheek news?
Craig Cheek.
Yeah. Someone also mentioning it on our YouTube comments. So our listeners are all over
it. The people are buzzing.
We'll get to it. 3:58 on the Fan.
The Hurricane
Get to MLB to Portland news in a moment. One other coordinator hire today that has some puzzled is the Steelers hiring Art Smith.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as Arthur Smith, the former the Falcons head coach.
Falcons head coach.
Heir of the FedEx fortune.
He was the OC in Tennessee.
What did you say?
His dad founded FedEx. He's the heir to the FedEx fortune.
Get right the hell out of town.
No, dead serious.
How did I not know that? Arthur Smith.
Yeah, his dad is Mr. FedEx.
Why is Arthur Smith doing anything?
I don't know. I guess he just was able to watch football all day growing up and coach and
I
stuff.
feel like that explains a lot.
Boy, I'll tell you what. I wouldn't.
Tell you.
Well, good for him for being motivated. You know how easy it is to be the heir to the FedEx throne and not give 2 S's and be like a Billy Madison
No, I'm going to be a football guy instead.
Well, good for him, man.
Well, he's going to Pittsburgh, and it's kind of, I don't know. I think Steeler fans are like, oh, my God, what?
Well, if you watch the Falcons offense,
yeah, exactly.
You know, it didn't blow anyone away.
Well, he didn't have a quarterback.
No, he did not.
He's known for his run game. You know, he helped Derrick Henry a lot.
Yep.
He actually helped Tannehill quite a bit the year before that.
He made Tannehill a solid quarterback. And those Tennessee teams, I mean, they made it to a conference championship.
By the way, Tannehill to Pittsburgh in 3, 2.
Oh, that seems like a no-brainer.
I'll tell you what. If Pittsburgh is relying on Ryan Tannehill, you need a new path.
What are they going to run it back with Pickett this year?
I was going to say, isn't that better than Pickett?
Look, I'll just say this: if you're a team like Pittsburgh, if you're Tennessee, any of these teams, my God, just keep drafting quarterbacks. You never know. Now we've talked about this. The majority of elite quarterbacks come in the first round. I understand that. And usually they're within the first 5 picks, especially the generational talents. Like everyone wants to believe in the myth of Tom Brady in the 7th round pick, but it doesn't happen. Just keep drafting quarterbacks. Stop trying to make Kenny Pickett happen. Stop being like, well, I mean, we got Ryan Tannehill, so I guess that's okay. Just keep trying because you can find a Dak, you can find a Russell Wilson. And yeah, that's not Peyton Manning, it's not Aaron Rodgers, but my God, you can try. This idea of just sitting around and being okay with the definition of mediocrity, I do not understand that. Kenny Pickett will never be the guy in Pittsburgh. You can probably win some games with Kenny Pickett if you built an elite team around him, but it comes to the point again where you're going to have to pay that dude way more than he's worth. See, Daniel Jones is the best example of this. If New York was smart at all, they would have looked at that and been like, well, he's all right. He got us to the playoffs, but we ain't winning squat with Daniel Jones. And instead of giving that donkey $43 million, you should have moved on. And we've seen teams do this, right? The best example of this is probably Kansas City. Well, San Francisco did it. San Francisco came within 1 play of winning the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. And what did they do? They're like, we're going to go get Trey Lance. That didn't work. But then they went and got Brock Purdy too, and they're like, Trey, get the hell out of here. Kansas City was making the playoffs every year with Alex Smith. Every single year, and they were like, yeah, we're going to go find this Mahomes kid.
It is pretty stunning how San Francisco got away with that.
Yeah.
They fell into Purdy.
Dude,
I mean, they were ready.
They
wanted to give the reins to Lance. They thought he wasn't ready. They went back to Garoppolo. Then they finally went to Lance. He gets hurt. They have to go back to Garoppolo. Garoppolo gets hurt, and then Purdy gets a chance, and here we are.
Like that.
I mean, it's pretty charmed for them.
They were a drive from winning a Super Bowl with Garoppolo and punted.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, we're so smart. We're going to get this
They would have won it with a better quarterback.
We're going to get this Trey Lance guy.
Yeah.
And they get this Trey Lance guy, and he sucks.
And they gave up a lot to go get him.
Yes.
He's terrible.
And then then all of a sudden, Mr. Irrelevant leads them to a Super Bowl.
Yep.
F that. You know what? I'm rooting against
No,
them.
you know what? That's what you get for taking big swings. I appreciate the Niners going out and getting McCaffrey, making a deal for Lance. Sometimes they whiff, sometimes they hit home runs, but they go for it.
It's the idea like with Justin Fields, and we don't know what Chicago is going to do. But if they keep Justin Fields, this is so stupid. Like, Justin Fields is not the world's worst quarterback, and Justin Fields can get better with better weapons around him. If you think Justin Fields is turning into an elite quarterback, then I don't know what to tell you. Because that doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen in this league, with the exception of like Josh Allen did it, and like it just doesn't happen. Where like your 4th year in, it's like everything just clicks for you, and so this idea that you're going to try to make it work with Justin Fields, we're like, well, if he just gets a little bit better, great. Now you've got a top 14 quarterback in the league, and where does that get you? I'm trying to think. With the exception of, I got to look this up because maybe I'm missing someone. But with the exception of who is the Philadelphia, the
Foles.
With the exception of Foles, who, by the way, that team was carried by Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was playing at an MVP level when he got hurt. And yes, Foles came in. But outside of that, when's the last time we had a also ran win that trophy? Like, I know,
it doesn't happen.
I know
really.
Dilfer's won one.
That Foles thing is, there's another one.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How is he a Super Bowl champion?
I don't know, but he is. And he beat Tom Brady.
I know.
Right? It's just, it's kind of insane.
It's
but
weird.
It's true. Like, I'm just having to scroll back. So you had Mahomes, Hall of Famer, Stafford, Hall of Famer, Brady, Hall of Famer, Mahomes, Brady. There's Nick Foles, Brady, Manning, Brady, Wilson, Flacco.
He's a Hall of Famer, though.
Yeah, he will be. But, Eli Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Breeze, Roethlisberger, Manning. Brad Johnson. You got to go back. 2002, Brad Johnson. There you go. It's been 20 years. If you want
He's better than Nick Foles, though.
Yeah, he is. But that's what we're dealing with, and yet we're constantly being told by NFL teams that you can I'm going to make Justin Fields or I'm going to make Daniel Jones. No.
Well,
draft. Do not go get Ryan Tannehill. If you want to go get him, that's fine. But you better be drafting a quarterback in the first 3 rounds and being like, dude, at least I'll give Tennessee credit this. Right? They had Tannehill, and they realized Tannehill wasn't very good. They're like, this isn't that. And then they drafted Malik Willis, and he sucked. And then they were like, all right, we're going to draft Levis. And chances are Levis sucks. I don't know why everyone thinks Levis is going to be good. But at least they're trying. At least they're like, we're going to keep throwing darts at this thing, and hopefully it works out. Because in this league, man, if you don't have one of those really, really good to elite signal callers, dude, it is an uphill kick in the junk.
Yeah, I just think sometimes, though, all this, the talk that you were referencing is like teams have to do the best with what they have.
Yes.
I mean, you can't always have Tom Brady.
But you can try to find him in the draft. I would draft a quarterback every single year.
Of course.
In the first 3 rounds if I didn't have an elite quarterback.
Yeah, I get it. It's just, I think some of the rhetoric is all just like teams trying to, I mean, what do you want the Bears to do? I mean, they're trying to make it work with the guy that they picked. Yeah.
But when you have the number 1 pick again,
they can't screw this up.
If you sit there and have the balls to roll out Justin Fields again and be like, meh. when you're sitting there with a number 1 pick, supposedly in a very deep quarterback draft, I think that's franchise malpractice. But Todd Monken making decisions up there in Chicago, We'll see what they're going to do.
The other thing about Arthur Smith is I thought it was weird. They had a great draft pick in Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
And from what I watched of the Falcons, which wasn't that much, his usage was very strange.
Yes.
I don't really get what he was trying to do there.
That was everyone's big gripe, was that once Arthur Smith went away from being a coordinator, he kind of lost sight of how to use his best weapons, and maybe just wearing the head coach hat was too much for
Kyle
him.
Pitts is on a milk carton somewhere.
Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson should have had twice the season they had.
Who the hell, what?
So Pittsburgh hired that guy.
Well, maybe he can go in there and,
he's going to bring in Tannehill.
Like Tannehill and Pickett, right? Battle it out. I mean, for God's sake,
Kenny Pickett kind of is a younger Ryan Tannehill.
Yes,
he is. Yes. That's kind of what he's like.
Yeah, Tannehill. Not only is Tannehill, I guess in the Pickett thing, I guess there's an idea that he's going to get better. Tannehill again ain't getting any better. We've seen the best of Ryan Tannehill, and it was all right. But now it's it's time to move. It's time to move on. No one's solution should be at this point. What's Tannehill? He's like,
what's Nick Foles doing?
Boy,
there's a Super Bowl champ.
They tried multiple times for different people to make that work again, and it did not. Yeah, Tannehill's going to be 36 next year, so just let's move on.
He's not.
No,
I made that up.
I know.
At the same time, it's probably going to happen.
I could see it. Look, if I went into my quarterback room and I was staring at Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, and Tannehill's sitting out there, I would probably roll the dice with Ryan Tannehill too.
I would.
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys that thinks that Kenny Pickett's going to blossom into jackass.
All right. Up next, Major League Baseball to Portland is back on the radar.
Yeah, let's go.
We'll tell you what the latest is on that. It is 4:14 on the Fan.
Play golf where it's always warm.
he forged some documents to get a bank loan.
Yeah. What does it matter?
Can't knock the hustle.
How many billions is he worth now?
He's worth $6 billion.
Something tells me whatever slap on the wrist he got, that's where I'd even do a stint in Martha Stewart jail if it meant $6 billion coming my way.
He
that's
also
a good trade.
Yeah, absolutely.
He also had a fatal hit and run crash where he killed somebody.
And he left
$150 bond. All charges later dismissed.
What year is this?
It doesn't say the year on that.
God, being rich is awesome.
So he was maybe under the influence, and then he drove away, and then he paid the victim's family to make it go away?
I mean, right. I mean, who else? Jenner, Bruce, or sorry.
And then who was
Caitlin? I didn't mean to do that.
There was the wide receiver, too.
Dante Stallworth.
Yeah, Dante Stallworth.
He mowed someone down.
Smith has 10 kids.
Oh.
Whoa.
Including Art.
Well, something tells me that there's plenty of money to be divvied up. Although maybe his dad's one of those asses that isn't going to leave him anything. Like when it's all said and done, it's like, stand on your own 2 feet.
Well, I was reading a little bit about Art. It sounds like he's a pretty good dude and was pretty humble from the beginning. And he said, real quick, he just said sports was always the thing that he liked because he was always embarrassed about flaunting his, the
wealth.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, dude, he went to Georgetown Prep. Like his dad's Mr. FedEx. So he didn't like that. And so he loved sports because sports, you could keep score. He's like, that's how you're judged, not by your money.
Yeah, it's funny how rich kids seem to run from their rich upbringing. They never want to admit that they're rich and that they have trust funds, or that their daddy who drives around in a Porsche and lives in the Bay Area and gives them free loans.
Just moved, downsized houses.
Well, it's funny. I just
forges documents.
Yeah, is a known pirater of entertainment rights. Yeah, isn't it funny how no one that's rich wants to admit that they're rich? I don't know.
How about that, Buckley?
I am still not rich.
Of course not.
Maybe someday. Not now.
No, not now. No. Those 12 weeks must have been nice, Buck.
They were, courtesy of the state, not my father.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the MLB to Portland guys are back.
Yeah, supposedly there's a big proposal coming.
A variety of proposals.
Actually, not a variety. I guess it sounds like they've got one, and it's their last ditched effort.
There have been a variety of proposals.
Yeah, they're gonna try to buy the Red Tail golf course from the city.
Yeah.
And put a little baseball stadium out there.
50 million smackers they're prepared to pay the city of Portland, and it's got to go to a vote and all that. And we'll see what happens there. But it sounds like Lloyd Center's dead, Terminal 2's dead, any of the Hillsborough projects dead. Last gasp, I guess, in a letter to the city. Craig Cheek, who's the head honcho over there, and Barrett signed on to this. They basically said that Major League Baseball is going to expand 2 teams, and one of them will be in the West, and other cities, i.e. Salt Lake, have gotten very aggressive, and they said that this is our best chance to impress MLB to get them here. So sounds like they are going to throw everything they have at this, and hopefully it's enough. Now, I will say that it's a 164-acre piece of property.
It's huge.
This has never been done before in Major League Baseball. In fact, the biggest before this was the Atlanta one. And I think this is kind of what
they're... That was like 90-something?
60.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, 60. So this would be unprecedented. Now, they need this, not only to try to impress Major League Baseball, but, again, this is going to be a public-funded stadium, and they need to be able to make the money back. The way they're going to make their $2 billion back is by developing the land around it. So... we'll see what happens, because Salt Lake has already moved ahead. Salt Lake, if you're putting a path here, Salt Lake has already jumped us.
Well, Portland's been lapped by everybody.
Yes.
And that's partly, it really has nothing to do with the MLB to Portland organization. No, it's just circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, we're having a rough go of it.
Think about Portland before 2020.
Yeah.
And the riots and the COVIDs.
Yeah.
We were the homeless.
We were scheduled to host MLB for a tour of Portland, and then we tried to burn the city down. And that kind of derailed it.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we had real enthusiasm for MLB to Portland, the city was a lot different. So they've been lapped, and they do, but to their credit, they're still trying, and they should. I mean, they've put a lot of resources into trying to do this, and they're not out of it. But the red tail thing is interesting. That's we've talked about it before. I mean, this has come. I mean, Barrett's talked about this. We've had him on and discussed this. That's what they had their eyes on. I think that the holdup was that the red tail golf center, which is different than Redtail Golf Course.
Yes.
So the Redtail Golf Course, the land is all owned by the city. The course owned by the city. The Redtail Golf Center, the driving range and the retail space is a separate business owned by somebody else. And I think they were maybe overvaluing their business to the point where they had to get that worked out. And it sounds like maybe they have now. And so they can make a big, fat, juicy, sexy offer. I don't know about you. Redtail Golf Course, to me, sucks. It's covered in goose poop. It's never in good shape. It's overpriced, and it's always full of people. It's just, nobody's going to miss Redtail Golf Course.
No.
But, is that the best place for a stadium? I mean, I guess you could make the case that they're centrally located right there. But 217 is kind of a nightmare. And
it seems like most people think that location would be a nightmare for everyone living around that area and commuting around that area.
It's going to be a nightmare.
But what about the people that are needing to commute to a stadium? Like, are they going to go from? Are the people way out east going to drive all the way over there to go to a game?
I will say this: it will absolutely affect the number of games that I would go to. And I think a lot of people from the east side. But outside of putting this in a central location, i.e. the Lloyd Center, which was not going to happen. One, it's a tiny piece of property, and they weren't going to be able to make their money back. It wasn't going to impress Major League Baseball. And the nightmare of having to deal with everything that goes along with that in the middle of the city and trying to get all of those zoning regulations, it wasn't going to happen. The Lloyd Center would be the ideal spot, but it's not going to happen because it would be small. It'd be nice to have something down there where you could do the Moda Center, and then right down the road from that you could have the stadium. And Phil Knight is remember, he's putting in a couple $100 million to renovate those neighborhoods around there. It'd be amazing to have a district down there. Anyone that's been down to like what Detroit has, where the stadiums are within 4 blocks of each other, and they put a casino in there. You know what this can do, but that was not going to be a thing. And so while this location kind of sucks, it's better than it being in Hillsboro. It's better than it being out in Beaverton, for God's sakes. So I think this is a nice kind of middle ground.
I mean, it's basically Beaverton.
And you look at, I know, but you look at like Atlanta. Atlanta is 10, 15 miles outside of downtown.
Yeah, they're in the burbs.
And the place thrives. I mean, it's great. It's been an absolute success. And make no mistake, the Portland Diamond Project is going to sell Major League Baseball on, we are building an Atlanta-style ballpark here. But the same thing is Salt Lake's doing the same thing. Salt Lake is trying to build an entire new district around their stadium called like the Power District or whatever. So they're doing the same thing. And I mean, I have no idea at this point where Portland sits in that. Everything I've read seems to think that Salt Lake has passed them over, but maybe this is one of those things that can make a difference, because Salt Lake has their ducks in a row. And up until now, we don't even have a site. So at least this puts us in the fight, right? At least this gives us a puncher's chance.
I think the biggest thing, and this is something I don't know, I haven't caught up with Barrett in a while or anybody over there, but I think the biggest thing is politically. I mean, they have always had sort of a silent, what would be the word? Silent backer, for lack of a better term, in Ted Wheeler.
Yeah.
At the same time, he was never willing to stick his neck out there publicly because, I mean, the city was just going through all these other things that...
Yeah, you couldn't with everything else going on.
Exactly. Well, now, remember, Wheeler's leaving.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because it all depends on who's in there next and do they have a vision and can MLB to Portland, can those people sit down with whoever the new mayor is and convince them that it's something that needs to be done? It sounds like they made some headway with Wheeler. Wheeler did understand the value of it, but Wheeler was always pushing him towards the Lloyd Center.
Yeah.
Wheeler he thought the big win for him and for the city was, if we want to do baseball, let's do it right here at the Lloyd Center. Yeah. And that didn't work so well for the group because, as you talked about, the land was just wasn't big enough to make their money back. So this one is better for the group, but is it for the city? Who's the new mayor? All of that stuff plays into it. There's not one person holding their breath here.
No.
But I will say, and I've said this every time this comes up, you always get the naysayers and the detractors. But that group of people that is working on the Major League Baseball to Portland, that entity headed by Craig Cheek, they're really smart and they've got some money behind them, and they sometimes it's just right place, right time, people, vision, and they can make it happen. The timing was awful.
Yeah.
The first time around.
You just got bad luck.
But at the same time, with expansion now definitely coming on the horizon for Major League Baseball, it could time out right.
Well,
who knows?
It sounds like from everything I've read, it's us or Salt Lake. There isn't another real viable group.
Nashville gets the East one.
Yeah. So it's coming our way. It's just a matter of, can we beat Salt Lake? And Salt Lake, they've had the Olympics. Salt Lake, gets stuff done, and Salt Lake has political backing. So it's like everyone down in Salt Lake is all aboard this, and we have Portland, and so. I mean, the first step is, can we even buy the damn property? Can we?
That's what I'm saying.
Can we get the vote?
The Wheeler thing.
Yeah.
Because once you get the property, the city of Portland, I don't think has much to do with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, these deals take a long time.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. The timing of that is weird. The election's next year.
Yeah.
So
we'll see what happens.
Well, I don't know what that means.
I'm just happy that at least again, I guess the best way to put it, we're in the fight. We're in the fight, because up until now, all this talk of, how many times have we even heard, we don't even know who the backer is. We keep hearing, well, financially, it's there and the money's there, and we don't even have that. We can't even publicly say that, and we haven't even had a site. So, that's the part that I just roll my eyes out. Meanwhile, I got Salt Lake down there that's hosting the A's. Salt Lake put up billboards, for God's sakes, and we're giving the A's a tour and being like, hey, we want you. And then they didn't get them, but it's like...
Vegas is fumbling the bag on that, and Utah's like, we're here.
Yeah, great, right here. Yeah, and they're telling Major League Baseball, hey, we don't get the A's? Expansion right here. They're all in. And for God's sakes, we don't even know who's funding the thing. So at least now... we have a site, and I would hope that if they spend $50 million and buy this damn thing, that we can actually hear from someone that's like, no, this is us. This is where our money's coming from. They keep telling us that eventually they'll say that, and then maybe we can get some political backing. Maybe we can actually get some people in Portland that are like, hey, this is going to be an amazing development. It's going to bring how many billions of dollars worth of investment to this area. There's going to be restaurants and high rises and apartments, and that whole area over there is going to get a complete and total revamp. And the city's not going to be on the hook for a ton of stuff. Yeah, hopefully they're going to have to do infrastructure, maybe get a max line out there and stuff. I mean, there is money that the city's going to have to invest, but for the most part, this is going to be a private investment deal. And hopefully the city of Portland can figure out that, God, this city needs a win in the worst way. And even though this isn't Lloyd Center right in the middle of downtown, it is technically Portland. And it would be so nice to get some people on board with this and pushing something to a positive direction. When's the last time we had a solid win for the city of Portland? When?
Oh, Lillard was here today.
Yeah, they named the court after him. Is that for the city or is that for Adidas? I can't go play on that court.
Yeah, Adidas could all agree on that.
All right. Well, that'll kick off in the news. Good little segue right there. Next, here's Buck.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com.
with me?
Sure. I took ballroom dancing. I can do the rumba. Do a nice tango and waltz.
It is January 30, 2024. It is time now for In the News. I am your noted newsman. Hello, thank you. It is David Bowie Appreciation Day.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense. We just played some David Bowie.
Actually, it's not. I just made that up.
Oh, you said.
But I wanted to appreciate David Bowie.
I do appreciate David Bowie.
I do too.
I wouldn't say that I'm as rabid as
yeah.
You know.
Well, he's got some rabid fans.
Yes, he does.
I'm not one of them either, but he was awesome.
Yes. Oh, good old Ziggy Stardust. There's nothing wrong with some David Bowie. Rest in peace.
It's really National Croissant Day.
Now that.
And I only put that in there because I wanted to say it that way.
Well, I understand. But if you had to say, I cannot listen to David Bowie ever again, or I can never have a croissant, I know this is going to suck, but...
You're going croissant?
I'm eating croissants. I love croissants.
I don't.
Really?
I mean, they're okay.
The flaky goodness.
Yeah.
Go to La Provence sometimes.
I've been.
You warm that son of a bitch up. Let's go. Give me a little that jam.
I'm a big pastry guy.
Yeah.
But kind of plain, the croissant. You know?
I love.
So I'm going to take David Bowie.
Yeah, I understand. But I can't turn down. I like a croissant sandwich. We get the croissants from Costco. Cut that sucker in half. I make breakfast sandwiches out of them. Delightful.
The only time I eat a croissant is when I have a ham and cheese croissant sandwich.
Yeah, I was gonna
like
say
from
that.
Starbucks or
Yeah,
something.
a little breakfast croissant.
Yeah. It's also National Plan for Vacation Day.
No.
So let's plan a vacation.
I'm working on that right now.
Are you?
Yeah.
Where are you going? Japan?
No, that'll be next year.
China?
I think every 2 years. Quite frankly, I think right now, we're settling in the Saint somewhere.
Saint something?
Saint something.
Does it matter?
We're pulling a Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah. Well, Adidas hosted Damian Lillard today.
Yeah, I saw it was pretty cool.
Do you remember Damian Lillard?
I do. He's here right now and is going to be here again tomorrow playing the round ball.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to that lake.
And Scoot said it's going to be turnt.
Did he say that?
He did.
Those were his exact words.
Those were his exact words.
I love that.
Yeah.
Turnt.
Yeah.
Well, it is going to be turnt.
Yeah.
Because Lillard is playing with the Bucks now, and he'll be here tomorrow night for the game. But they hosted him at Adidas today because they named the Adidas headquarters basketball court after him.
First time they've named a building there after one of their athletes. Nike does this all the time. Like every building on the Nike campus is named after someone, but apparently Adidas falling behind, and they went with the Lillard basketball court. And he was there with his family, and he signed the court. It's pretty cool.
Not his wife.
No, I don't think she was. They've since parted ways. But the rest of the family was there. So I can't believe Nike botched that one.
What?
How do they not get Lillard? It's in Portland, for God's sakes.
I don't know. It's a good question.
You know how I feel about Adidas.
I know. I think the same about Adidas.
Yeah, I'm
but
not an over enthusiastic
know.
Adidas guy.
I'll
With
say
those
this:
deals.
I love the Adidas golf apparel. Really do. Comfortable stuff. Good shorts. Good polos.
Totally disagree.
With you.
Hard disagree.
Yeah. The only thing I
Favorite golf shorts I got.
The only thing I get from Adidas is I always have a pair of Stan Smiths on hand.
I got a pair of those too.
Pair of Stan Smith or a pair of Superstars. Now we're talking. But dude, anything that Adidas has put out like in the last 30 years, I look at that and I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, he's been with Adidas for a long time.
I think he's been with them right from the very get-go.
And maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Maybe at first they were like, meh.
Well, they gave him
Kinda like with Scoot.
Yeah, I mean, they made him the face of basketball early on, and he's paid off.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, welcome back, Damian Lillard.
Yes. I would assume, I hope, that there will be a robust ovation.
Oh, yeah.
When they announce Damian Lillard.
Dude, he's going to get a big ovation.
I would hope so.
Will there be a small smattering of boos? And if so, what percentage?
They might, but I bet it's small. He even said he was talking today at the Adidas thing, and he said it's hard because it was a divorce that there's no hate. And
We've got that audio.
Yeah, you want to play it?
Yeah.
You guys want to hear what Damian Lillard said?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just excited to play. Obviously, it was a great time. I loved the organization. I loved everybody that I went to work with every day, and I think what made it the hardest is it wasn't a broken relationship. So coming back is just being able to be here. I'm in a great situation. The reason it all came about in the first place was for a chance to win it all, and we couldn't be at that place at the same time. So I come back with love, and, you know, I'm excited to be back in the Motor Center. I played so many games that I recognize fans' faces, you know, from the court. So seeing their faces, being back in the building, being back home, I'm excited to play the game, and I'm gonna play the game free. So, you know, we're here to win a game, and that's it.
I wish he hadn't said the part about recognizing fans' faces.
Yeah.
Because that's going to go to some dude's head in the third row.
Dan, remember me?
Dan, I'm here, bro.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's going to remember my face, so I think we're okay.
Your face? Why would he remember your face?
That's why I just said he won't remember my face.
Yeah, well, this isn't about you. This is about the people down, the Blazer fan, all the NBA fans that love to be on TV.
Yes.
They love sitting down there and
damn right.
strutting around.
You know he's just talking about Sloy.
With their drinks. Yeah, Ronnie Sloy.
He's just talking about Ron Sloy.
Wonderful Ron's going to be down there today.
I would hope so.
Or, I mean, tomorrow.
Red blazer, red face, mustache.
Well, anyway, there's an offshoot of this I need to tell you about. On the eve of the game, which would be tonight, there is a gallery that is commemorating Damian Lillard's time in Portland. It is called Dame Was Here, and it features photos by Bruce Eli and Casey Holdall.
Okay. Friend of the program, Casey Holdall.
Good Blazer peeps.
Yeah, good dude.
It's at Camp Grizzly. That's an advertising agency. That's who's hosting the show.
All right. So it's just photos of Lillard on the court, off the court. I'm assuming
both.
The whole thing.
Yeah, it says it's called Dame Was Here. It will commemorate the former star Trailblazer on the eve of his return to the Moda Center. The show will be hosted by Camp Grizzly. Blah, blah, blah. They said what we tried to do is put together images that showcase Dame's life in Portland rather than just the on-court highlights.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully they'll get some stuff, you know, him doing charity work and stuff around the house. And he still has his house here and his family's still here, his little kids.
All proceeds from the sale of prints go to the Boys and Girls Club of Portland.
Cool. Say what you would like. Lillard, I've said it a million times over, how anyone could be mad at that guy. That guy was everything you could want on and off the court. He handled his time here in Portland as well as any athlete that I've ever seen. From growing up here to living here to working here, he was an absolute treat for this city.
So Camp Grizzly is at 2316 Northeast Oregon Street. And tonight, I think it starts in about 15 minutes, 5 to 8.
Well, if you're driving around, swing on by.
It's free. And they're going to leave it up for 2 weeks.
And then it's free, but you can go in and buy buy photos.
Yeah, it's free to go check it out, but then you can buy prints and stuff out there.
Again, goes to a good cause.
And will Damian Lillard make an appearance?
I don't know. What else is he doing tonight?
The answer is likely no, but they're holding out hope that he might.
Well, again, he's sitting around a hotel right now, although he's probably...
You really think he's sitting around a hotel right now?
Well, he's probably sitting at home talking to his kids.
That dude's probably doing something way cool right now.
I'm guessing he's just hanging out with Dame Jr.
Really?
Well, he talked about one of the hard parts about going to Milwaukee is his kids, his kids are back here. So yes, I'm assuming that during the season he doesn't get to see his kids that much.
Yeah.
And what else?
I bet he's at the A crop. Somebody go check.
Putting out a couple steak bites before the big game tomorrow.
That's right.
Trying to get away from them butter hogs, get out to some of the fine Portland scenery.
Well, there you go. What else do I have for you here? A fentanyl crisis has been declared.
Oh, haven't we already done that?
I know you love your fentanyl.
Haven't we been declaring that thing for like 3 years now?
No, this is a 90-day fentanyl state of emergency.
Okay.
It has been declared by the state, county, and city leaders.
Time to panic.
And what they are doing with this is it frees up them to spend frivolous amounts of money on the issue.
All right.
That's what it does.
All right. Sounds about right.
Yeah, because when you declare an emergency order,
you get funds released.
You get the funding.
That's like what they do with like the snow and ice storms or whatever. They declare a natural disaster or an emergency, and then you get money.
Officials say a command center will be created in the central city where people working for the 3 levels of government can coordinate response efforts. Each level of government has identified an incident commander.
Gotta have an incident commander.
I interviewed for that gig.
How'd that go?
Not well.
Yeah. I don't know what that...
They didn't like my potty humor.
What does a commander do?
They will be responsible for coordinating resources from the jurisdiction that they represent. So if you know anybody who is struggling with a fentanyl addiction,
don't you just die?
I mean, I think you can. But if you haven't yet,
all right. Then you go talk to one of the commanders.
I think that's right.
Has one of these programs ever worked in the history of programs, commanders, or drugs? Like, does that ever work anywhere?
I don't know, but it's kind of weird that it's only 90 days.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I remember those Dare to Keep drug programs.
After that, it'll all be fine.
Because that works so well. I'm just wondering, has anyone ever done anything in the history of drugs and programs to actually curb drug use?
I mean, yeah, sure.
We have?
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And that is who and where?
I don't know.
All right.
Sure, somewhere somebody got it right once.
Somewhere, yeah.
Don't you think?
Well, like I see like the big drug bust and it's great. Like they're like, oh, we took like all this off the streets. And I'm like, oh, that's kick ass.
They're just going to go get more.
Yeah, like I wonder that. Like
you got to fight.
Like,
of course.
Like a cartel somewhere is like, oh man, they got 200 grand worth of fentanyl. Cool.
Yeah, you didn't exactly cut off the pipeline.
Here's $9 billion worth.
And
more.
Isaac, yes, I know you have to try.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. That's all I'm asking.
Got to fight the fight.
All I'm asking. To my cop brother,
what do you guys want? Legal drugs? Oh wait,
I'm just asking to my cop brother and to the DA folks. Like, what's our big win?
There's a popular comedic bit that basically we should just concede, throw up the white flag that we have lost the war on drugs, and that's just how it is.
Well, it's one of those.
But then what do you do?
I don't know. Give the people the drugs. We tried that. It didn't work. You know what we could try? Big boats.
Drug boats?
Just saying.
Bon voyage.
Bon voyage.
Drug voyage.
I'll tell you right now. On the vessel, on the Bon Voyage, hey man, whatever you want to do, it's on you. It's international waters. You can do whatever the hell you want. None of my business.
I have an update on our nice new fancy sustainable airport that we're building.
Oh yeah, I was just there.
Yeah, did you see some stuff?
No. You said that thing's supposed to be open in May. Yeah.
Well, not all of it.
I'm claiming horse nears.
That's next.
It doesn't have a ceiling, for God's sakes.
It's 450 on the Fan.
Yeah. The home of dirt and spray.
I'm dirt. This Baltimore
building, and it's still under construction, but they're opening it in May. That's the one with the big wood ceiling, and I guess all the light comes in.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a walk in the park.
Yeah, walk in the forest.
It's that annoying now long-ass walk that you have to take to get from the ticketing to get to all the gates. That's going to be the new...
It goes around that. So that's all under construction. That will open in May.
And that'll be the...
And that'll change everything. Like, once you see that, it'll be like, oh my God, it's so cool. Blah. And then the current ticketing counters, they'll demolish those. Yeah. And then the second phase is from May of 2024 to the end of 2025, and that includes turning the current security screening areas into exit lanes from the concourses to the terminal.
I'm confused though, because in order to get to the where that new terminal is now, I'm going to have to walk through the existing security where it's now.
No. It's in between the two. So let's say you're going straight into the airport.
Yeah.
Which is right in the middle, right? Yeah. There's screening down to the left, and there's screening down to the right to get to each of the long terminals.
Yes.
The main terminal is in the middle of that. Okay. So right now, what they'll do is, I'm guessing they will open where the ticketing counters are now. They'll open all that up, and you'll see the nice new space in the middle.
Okay.
And then you can go left to get to your whatever flight you're on, and you go right, just like you used to.
It'll be weird when that's open, because I just, airports are one of those things I don't know, it's the airport.
I love airports.
Yeah, I've been here forever. It's like, that's the airport.
I'm a big fan of airports, and I like... if you've ever been, you've flown through Asia and stuff, they don't mess around with their airports.
No, their airports
They're really nice.
The Asian airports are dialed.
Whoa, a comment here from the YouTube stream says, my neighbor is the head architect of the airport project and said everything is on schedule.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
Well, so, I mean...
$2 billion.
Guess we got to believe him.
I bet that's not on schedule. That's what you tell your neighbors.
Oh, that's
definitely
no,
it's don't you worry.
Don't worry about it.
But hey, I mean, they've been working a long time on that, and it's supposed to be pretty cool. Like, the renderings look cool.
Yeah, the renderings look great.
So I love a good airport, especially if you get stuck. You want a nice little place to hang. And, let me get you, before we get out of here, let me get you the list of new vendors they're going to throw in. 20 new shops.
Although at the same time, I try to spend as little time in airports as humanly possible.
Well, there is that. Sometimes you just cruise through, but like I said,
I'm a late to the airport kind of guy. I don't get there early. I don't want to be at the airport. But yeah, it is nice when you go to you do get stuck at one, and it's nice, and go to the lounges and some restaurants and all that. I used to never sit and have a meal at a restaurant. I'm there. I'm in and out. I'm on a mission.
Layover maybe though?
Yeah, layover.
Okay. Blue Star, Capers. You know Capers is already out there. That's the wine bar right there.
Yep.
Right when you get through security.
Right when you get through security.
A great spot. Columbia Sportswear.
That's there already.
Yeah, the Country Cat, Pendleton, Portland Coffee, and Stumptown. And then 13 new vendors that will be in there beginning May 2024. Freeland Spirits, Grassa.
Oh.
Pasta.
Okay.
They
have a nice pork belly mac and cheese that's delightful.
They have a nice everything. I have not had a bad dish from Grassa.
Hello from Portland.
Don't know that.
It's a Portland-themed gift shop.
Oh, okay.
Cure Superfoods. Smoothies and grain bowls.
There you go. Not very Portland of us.
Lola's Cafe. Loyal Legion. Oven and Shaker.
Okay.
Pilot House Distilling.
We're aiming for that #1 airport again, huh?
How about this? Paper Epiphanies. You'll love this one. Catch up on your correspondence at this feminist card store.
Yes!
Handmade cards designed by women.
That might be the most Portland thing I've ever heard. A feminist card store in the airport.
I can't tell you how many times I've been walking through the airport, and you know what I've told myself?
I wish I had somewhere to buy a feminist greeting card.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think about that all the time. I'm going to make my commitment to this program right here and all my listeners. I will never buy a feminist card somewhere other than right there.
That's big of you.
That's the only place that I will ever buy a handmade feminist card. I can't wait to see the wonderful designs that they have. Take a bite out of that patriarchy. White men bastards.
Pilot House Distilling, which is Astoria's best-known distillery.
Okay.
Portland Gear will be in there. Sizzle Pie. Stephen Smith Tea Maker. That's tea tasting. And then Straightaway Cocktails.
Hey!
My buddy Cy.
Yeah, I love the Straightaway Cocktails.
Yeah, they're great. And so all of that will be in there. And the new shops, cafes, and restaurants, they charge you, out there, you can't
overcharge.
Yeah, they can't overcharge you. They charge you street prices.
Yes.
So what you would buy a straightaway cocktail for at the straightaway distillery,
you'll get it there.
You'll get the same price at the airport.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
Yeah, they cut them a deal because they give them a break on the ramp, but they're not allowed to hike up the price. Same thing at Pendleton or Columbia. Like if a shirt's $100 at the Pendleton store, it's $100 at the airport. You forgot, Isaac Robb, the best part of the new airport. You big jerk. The best feature.
Is there a golf simulator?
No, although that'd be pretty great.
Why not? They should do that.
Yeah.
They're
Not
on Pumpkins,
one,
they're on Bandon.
not two,
movie theater.
not 3, 10
Tesla charging station.
shoe selfie stations.
Oh, with the carpet.
The original 10 spots that you can go and photograph your stupid feet on the original Portland
There are
carpet.
going to be signs saying, come see the old carpet over here.
I thought the whole thing was now they want you to look up, not down.
No, man.
Because they put the wood up on the top of the
10 shoe selfie stations with the original carpet design where you can go photograph your feetsy and then be like, leaving Portland or coming back to Portland.
Look at me, Facebook.
Get ready for the gram. Get ready for the gram. Jeebus.
Well, I, for one, I'm excited for our new airport. I think it's going to be great.
Me too. Look,
maybe we'll get the #1 spot back from Denver.
The renderings do look great. I'm just saying I was there over the weekend and it's hard to envision it.
It's not good right
It's hard to envision it right
Like if you didn't know that they were rebuilding it, you would go in there and go, what a dump.
Yeah, but it's coming.
But it's,
All right. Fingers crossed.
Takes time. And it's on budget from what our sources on the street are saying.
And we're taking that.
Or I mean on time.
We're taking that as the gospel truth.
Although we did have a second commenter say, well, my neighbor's also the head architect, and he said it's behind schedule.
God.
So,
jeez. Now we got conflicting reports.
I'm going to paper epiphanies. Get to the bottom of this.
Figure out what's going on.
yeah, a feminist greeting card will solve this.
All right. Coming up next, it is the Hot 5 at 5. A lot of coordinator news in football. And we've got one major Power 5 football program under investigation for major violations. We'll get to those items next on The Fan.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. The IRS just rolled out a new program to help struggling taxpayers more easily resolve
Having a nice, juicy little Tuesday drop. That's me.
Excited.
Big Soup's right over there.
Yeah. Doing some research for the show right now.
Yeah, he's been telling me intermittently during the break what Paper Epiphanies has to offer.
You can't make this up. This is the most Portland store of all time. It's right out of Portlandia. Remember they had that lesbian bookstore that was for cats in Portlandia? This is the real life equivalent of that.
Well, that was a real store.
That was a real store?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
I think it's since closed.
I thought that was just made up for the show.
No.
Yeah.
I love their slogan, shop rebelliously. I always do, ladies. I always do.
Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, we're talking about the new airport and the different stores that are opening up. And there's one of them called Paper Epiphanies that's opening, and it is a handmade women empowerment card store.
So yeah, like the first card I'm seeing here is, and on her birthday, she continued to do whatever the F she wanted.
Yes.
Yeah, there's an F the Boys card.
Yes.
You can buy vibrator there if you'd like as well.
Now, how about this? There's a card that says more whiskey, less morons with the person holding a cocktail, but I believe that should be fewer morons. So who's the moron now?
Look at the grammar police over there.
Look, I stand by my statement.
More whiskey, less
if I
moron.
ever want to buy a feminist handmade card, I'm only buying it from these people. Not going anywhere else.
Well, they're getting a spot at PDX.
I'm not certain if they would be thrilled if I wandered into their store. I'm not certain that I'm their clientele, but much like the sports bra, I feel like I should cruise in there and see what's up.
You're not necessarily off on the right foot.
Maybe we can get we'll get like Rob the birthday card that says happy birthday to the bossiest bitch I know.
I'd like that.
There's some good breakup cards. F the boys that are threatened by powerful women. That's a pretty good one. A lot of know your worth cards, things like that. I'm excited. I'm glad that this is coming to.
I'll at least go and peruse the cards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Texter brings up a good point. What's more interesting about this card store is Hallmark always been considered too masculine? It's a great question.
Well, I would think so, because I having watched a lot of those Hallmark movies, there usually is a strapping lumberjack sort of man that does convince the high-powered executive to move back to the small town, and we can't have that. Not in this world. No, that's right out. Hallmark is part of the patriarchy. That's right out. So this is we're doing it the right way here. F them boys.
F them boys.
And that is a card that indeed you can buy.
I'm sure the Hallmark they always had the cards like, I really appreciate your cooking and cleaning, baby. Happy birthday.
That's right.
That's right. This was needed in the marketplace.
Rob, for your birthday, you will be getting a Fearless Women Rule the World card.
I'm for it.
For $7?
All for it.
That's a handmade $7.
We need more of this.
Absolutely.
Coming up, we will have some early Super Bowl thoughts. It was only a matter of time before a major Power 5 institution, and yes, they are from the SEC, is under investigation for NIL wrongdoing. And the club tonight, did they really find Amelia Earhart's plane?
Yeah.
Apparently they did.
Well, according to one guy.
Right now, the Hot 5 at 5.
Hot topics, hot opinions.
Oh, golly, I'm hot today.
And hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
That's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you on The Fan by Victorico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victoricos.com. Number 5.
Well, last night, the Mariners landed infielder Jorge Polanco from the Twins.
Hey, in an offseason that's been a giant ball of meh. Hey, he was an all-star once.
He will likely play second base, which would move Josh Rojas into a utility role, which I think would make Schultze happy. Because wasn't he bitching about Josh Rojas?
Yes, he was very unhappy.
Luis Urias.
So I feel like if we're doing a Schultze scale, like he's going to be mad at everything they do, but I feel like this is only like a 5 on the Schultze pissed off scale.
Free agent third baseman Justin Turner has signed with the Blue Jays. 1 year, $13 million.
That's not a bad little deal. He'll DH there, and if you look, he actually had a pretty good year last year.
That guy just rolls out of bed and hits 315.
Yeah, he just last year he drove in 96 in Boston.
Yeah, hit like 276, and he's an old fat butt now. But stick him at
I guess he's got more power.
Nice little red beard.
Yeah, stick him at DH, and that's a nice little pickup.
Little ginger.
Well, it's more than a little ginger. He looks like the Philadelphia Flyers mascot.
Number 4. Oh, gritty. Yeah,
it's a horrible look, but
Portland Diamond Project says it will bid on the Red Tail Golf Course property to the tune of $50 million.
$50 million. 164 acres would be the largest in Major League Baseball history.
It's currently owned by the city of Portland. Blazers get a visit from Damian Lillard and the Bucks tomorrow. The game will be televised on ESPN. Lillard in town today out at Adidas. They were naming their campus basketball court after him. He's the first athlete to get a location named after him out at Adidas HQ. Also, the All-Star Rising Stars game is Friday, February 16th.
And will feature not only Shaden Sharp, but
Scoots.
He gonna go with that lake.
Scoot Henderson will be on the rookie team, and Shaden Sharp will play for the sophomores.
Yeah. Scoot had a big game last night again. Blew out the Sixers. Mike.
Here he comes.
At 20 like in the fourth quarter.
Here he comes.
Stop winning games, Sook.
Yeah.
I know. I didn't like that.
A couple too many wins recently.
I didn't like that at all. Well, they lost 4 or 5, so I felt good about that. But
I know, but it's like they've had 2 wins in the last 2 weeks. It's too many.
I know. It makes me nervous.
Former Washington head coach Jimmy Lake is back in action. He's headed to the NFL as defensive coordinator of the Falcons. It's the 3rd time he will work under new Atlanta coach Raheem Morris. Meanwhile, in LA, the Rams, they're going to interview former Chargers coach Brandon Staley to replace Morris.
Well, he did a bang-up job of running his defense when he was the head coach. He just may be one of those guys, much like Arthur Smith, that's more of a coordinator sort of role.
The Steelers have a new offensive coordinator. They hired former Titans head coach Arthur Smith.
There you go.
He's known for his strong run game. Pete Carmichael was let go as Saints offensive coordinator after 15 years. He has been snatched up by Sean Payton. He will join the offensive staff in Denver. And then Bobby Slowick re-ups with the Texans as their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he got a big fat raise to stay in Houston.
Yeah, in other coordinator news, and this transitions nicely into number 2. Today, the Seahawks will not be landing Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson as their head coach. He has announced he is staying in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some speculation that maybe he wasn't thrilled with both jobs that were available, Seattle and Washington. I guess Washington was on their way on the airplane to go interview him when he told them no thanks. Others are saying that maybe the price tag scared off Seattle, that he was asking to the tune of $15 million and Seattle wasn't willing to do that. So either way, Ben Johnson gets a fat new raise in Detroit and he'll hang out, and that entire offense basically comes back with the exception of Josh Reynolds that they'll lose.
The Seahawks met today with the Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald.
Well, it would assume at this point that it has to be McDonald. Like, they were waiting around for Ben Johnson and McDonald to be done playing, and now that Ben Johnson's out,
well, you got Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I guess you got Dan Quinn.
Mike Vrabel's out there.
Yeah, but it's weird that you were waiting around for them. It would make sense that that's the guy, but
I heard someone say Belichick, Washington.
Let's do it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Dark horse.
Number 1.
You know how I feel about that.
Well, I mean, that's
Washington has to be a little upset that you were flying up to meet a guy and he was like, no thanks.
Well, yeah, and you waited on him.
Yeah, you waited on him.
But you can do a lot. You know, if Belichick's your fallback, it's not a bad fallback.
You know me. On a rebuild like what Washington has and having to develop a quarterback and all that, I don't want Bill at the head of that. But that's just me.
University of Tennessee is under investigation by the NCAA for NIL violations.
What?
Stems from a private jet used to lure a 5-star quarterback. In all, it includes 7 sports, and the violations are considered major.
Yeah.
Just last year, the Vols were hit with 18 level 1 violations. Now, their chancellor has already come out, and she is not happy. She blasted the NCAA, saying 2.5 years of vague and contradictory memos does not constitute policy.
Well,
and quite frankly, she probably has a pretty good point.
Absolutely, considering the fact that everyone, and I mean everyone, is paying high school athletes to come there. I mean, this is supposed to be pay for play, but everyone is pay for play. In fact, National Signing Day, the second one's on, I think, February 7th. I saw a ranking today that they put out of the top 15 schools. Oregon, by the way, at number 3 behind Georgia and Alabama. And the best part was they had the national ranking, they had all the 5 stars, and then you know what was right below that? The average NIL for incoming freshmen. I mean, can we just grow up here and realize that what this has just turned into we're paying you to come to our campus?
Well, I'd like to talk about this in more detail next. I'm also curious what the average NIL is.
Well, I can tell you. I mean, they got them. Yeah. They got a list.
I want that.
Yeah.
There's your Hot 5. It's brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Order now at victorricos.com. 518 on The Fan.
The Fan is on in your home.
And I don't really care what goes on behind the scenes. I just want to watch football. Okay?
Exactly. And we all know that none of this is name, image, and likeness. So the way this was originally set up was the idea that you can, instead of schools profiting off your name, image, and likeness, video games and selling jerseys, now the kids can do it. You can go out and you can sign a deal with a car dealership. You can go do commercials. You can, sell your own CDs or, download your music if you're an artist. None of those things used to be legal. Remember, there's been people before that are actually talented musicians and they weren't allowed to sell music because it was profiting off their name, image, and likeness. But that's not what this is. It's none of it. No one's getting anything out of this. This is just a matter of boosters now have gotten together collectives. They put together, whether it's Mountain Lake Futures or, Roll Tide Row. So they put together these collectives where there's a big pot of money and it goes to keeping your athletes and it goes to getting high school athletes. And this isn't supposed to be a pay to play. You're not supposed to be able to offer and say, hey, if you come to our school, you get X. But we've already seen it where kids not only are getting that, but kids are getting like the kid at Tennessee, the Nico, I forget what his last name is.
He's the
Iamaleava, I think.
Yeah. He got a $7 million deal.
Yeah.
Every year.
He's the one where they sent a private jet to pick him up. And now they're saying that's illegal.
And this isn't supposed to, you're not supposed to have any affiliation with the school.
Right.
The school can't
the collective is separate.
But it's not separate. In fact, I know
it's backwards logic. If the money's going to the kids that play for the school, of course it's connected to the school.
It's so dumb because every school has every school has a guy that his sole job is to tell the collective what they need. So, these guys that are directors of player personnel and whatever, part of their job is to go to the collective and be like, hey, we got a kid that had a breakout season. I'm gonna need $750,000 to keep this.
This is what he says it'll take to get here, and we need it from you now.
And you're going to these people and be like, hey, we're after a 5-star recruit. I need $10,000 to get this kid even on campus. And if we're gonna land him, if we have any hope, I'm gonna need $1.5 million. So it's just the dumbest thing in the world that there's even remotely rules attached to this, including a private plane. This is so stupid.
All right. So what you need to know is that Tennessee last summer was penalized for more than 200 rules infractions just in the football program.
Yes.
The NCAA Committee on Infractions declared that case one of the worst they had ever seen. They had 18 level 1 violations.
Was that the one that included giving cash to recruits in McDonald's bags or something?
I don't know about that, but it said it included around $60,000 in impermissible inducements and benefits for recruits. So now, because of that, this could get really hairy and have significant consequences. Of course, Tennessee is pushing back, like the chancellor said, and she said, well, what the hell? There's no rules on this stuff.
Oh.
You just send out these weird memos and nothing makes sense and it's all contradictory.
Yeah, it's like what Jim Harbaugh was dealing with when he tried to go down the road of, I just bought some hamburgers to some players. No, you didn't. You did what everyone else.
Drink their Haterade and eat their hater tots.
You did what everyone else did. You paid a bunch of kids to come to your campus and you said, we'll give you a bunch of more money if you come here.
Yeah, Harbaugh basically said, I think the rules are dumb. I'm going to do whatever I want because they're not going to do anything to me. And then he played whatever game he wanted.
Yeah.
According to a New York Times report, one element of the NCAA's investigation is a collective using a private jet to fly heralded 5-star quarterback recruit Nico Iamaleava. I'm going to leave you.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave you unless you give me a bunch of cash.
I'm going to leave you unless you fly me out on the PJ.
Yeah.
Flying him to campus during his recruitment, having a booster group pay for the trip is a violation of NCAA rules.
Yeah. Because again, that goes down to we're still recruiting, and believe it or not, in recruiting, you can't have a booster pay for a kid to go to school, even though you can have a booster technically promise him money that if he comes to school, he'll get it. This is why Tennessee is like, this is stupid.
Well, I also think that Tennessee is probably going to win this because they'll fight. And schools have been fighting the NCAA. Like, I feel like now the NCAA has so little teeth that schools just lawyer up.
Yeah.
And the NCAA backs off.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all you have to do.
I mean, they suspended Harbaugh for a little bit, I guess. So
yeah, but that wasn't the NCAA. That was the Big Ten.
That's true. The NCAA is still investigating. We'll see what comes out of that.
Yeah, they'll have their investigation concluded in the year 2045. I mean, the NCAA it really is a joke.
It's stupid.
So nobody probably even cares about this, and nothing will probably come of it because it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
But it does seem like the NCAA's got to be in its bonnet over Tennessee based on what happened last year, and
well,
now they're just calling them out. They're like using them as the a shining example.
Well, I just love that really what we're telling people now is, dude, do whatever you want, but can you not flaunt it? Like, don't send the private jet to pick the kid up. Like, don't be a jackass.
But my thing is, if this collective is paying for it anyways, and it's coming out of their pocket, like, who cares? Like, could they say, oh, all right, fine, we'll give the kid, $20K less, and we'll just fly him on our private jet? Like,
but I guess the idea is that like at some point you can't say that there's not recruiting rules, because there's dead periods. You can't.
It feels like we're making rules after the castle's already crumbled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, technically, you still can't buy mom and dad a house. You can't, there are some things that you can't do. Again, the Herm Edwards, like, there has to be some form of guidelines.
You can give a kid $7 million in cash for his parents to buy their house. I mean, that's not that different.
That is true. But you have to wait until he's on campus. You can promise him, but you can't give it to him before he comes there, because you can't have pay for play.
And listen, I'm with you. I think there needs to be some sort of regulation, because right now it's just the wild, wild west. But it's odd that they open this Pandora's box and they're like, oh no, look at everything that's coming out.
All I know is I don't feel bad. If Tennessee gets dinged, I'm going to look at you, because I've said this all along. If you get caught doing things in this day and age, you're just dumb. You're the criminal that falls asleep behind the wheel. Like, that's to do the Goodfellas thing. Like, you got caught. You robbed the bank and then you fell asleep in the getaway car. If you get caught, it's because you're that stupid. Because there's a million ways now to fudge whatever stupid rules there are, and you can funnel things through a million different things to not get caught. But if you're dumb enough to just have a booster go on his private jet, a booster that's affiliated with the school in the NIL, and pick this kid up and drop him off at Tennessee and funnel him around, that's on you. That's for being stupid. So I have no sympathy for you getting caught, because you can do whatever you want now. Just don't be an idiot.
That's where the lack of institutional control starts. If you aren't able to control your collective and they're doing whatever they want to do with the recruits, that's going to become a problem.
Yeah. There are some that believe that the NCAA, when they didn't hit Tennessee with the postseason ban last year, because they said this is one of the worst cases they've ever seen.
Yeah.
When Tennessee did not get a postseason ban, many believe that signaled the end of them ever banning anyone for postseason ever again.
Yeah.
So I don't know what will come of this. I was just reading about the Volunteers. They call it the Volunteer Club, their NIL collective.
Yeah.
It is operated by Knoxville-based Spire Sports Group.
Spire, I think, is how they say it. Yeah.
Yeah, they say it's one of the most prominent in the country, and it has more than 4,000 members. And they had struck deals with Tennessee athletes in 11 sports. One thing I think that is actually kind of cool about the collectives is that, anybody can be a part of it now.
Yeah.
It's
you can bring together the most passionate fans and say, how much do you really care? Put your money where your mouth is. That's
right.
Cool.
And that is cool, because that's kind of, this is not unlike, and we bring up this example all the time. I'm sure there are other examples, but it was one we remember most, and we always talk about it. But go back to the Cal thing, where Cal said, we can't fund these stupid sports. If you want to save these stupid sports, save them yourselves.
Yeah.
And
they did.
And some of them they did, some of them they didn't. But the rugby program there at Cal, nobody knows this, but Cal's rugby program is historic. They've won multiple championships, and it was an important enough program, I think, that they saved it.
Yeah, I think
and baseball as well.
For a couple of those, I think they raised like $7 or $10 million in the span of a couple months, and they said, cool, these programs are there.
How is this any different than that? Just going in and digging into your fans' pockets.
Yeah.
Right? And booster fan, what's the difference?
And if the fans are cool with it and the school's cool with it, why does anyone else care?
Well, that's what I mean, right? It's like this is the way it should be.
Well, what should be is that the schools actually are allowed to pay the players and revenue.
Yeah, so you don't have to go through this.
Well, true, but I just mean, this is way better.
This is way better.
And it just needs regulation. It needs guardrails.
If Georgia wants to pay their players, they should be able to pay their players. I've said this for years, that even when if people were so freaked out about paying players directly, I said that the school should be able to do whatever they want for them. You want to give them cars, you want to give them apartments, you want to give them TVs, all that stuff, fine. Because you're doing it anyways. At least now we've cut out the middleman and kids just get cash. By the way, Oregon, number 3 on the in the recruiting rankings.
Yeah.
And the average NIL for like the top program. So Georgia was 1, Bama was 2, and you're in the mid 6, like 150 to 170 is the average recruit NIL that goes to to one of those top programs.
You're saying that it costs $150,000 to get the average recruit?
Well, to get Georgia or Alabama's average recruit. So some obviously are going to get more.
And
some
Oregon's
are going to get
what?
Oregon's was like 112, and they were like
so
third.
The average kid.
Yeah.
Who average? They're an athlete.
Yes.
And they're a scholarship athlete.
Yes.
They go to Oregon. They're getting on average $112,000.
Yes.
In some sort of deal.
Yes.
Whether that be cash or...
When you step foot on campus, that is the average. And obviously that's going to be skewed because if you go and get a quarterback, he's going to be getting $1 million plus.
Maybe they get paper epiphanies trade.
I would hope so. Strong women rule the world. And we know for a 5-star kid to go on campus, it's 10 grand. It's 10 G's that you have to pay him to even get him to show up. It's the going rate for a quarterback in the transfer portal is anywhere from $1 million to $2 million if you want to go get those. I'm sure Dylan Gabriel got $1.5 million, $2 million to come sign up for Oregon. Jabbar Muhammad.
And wait, so the Oregon Collective is called what?
It is something street.
Didn't Phil Knight set that up?
I don't know if he directly set it up, but he certainly is a part of it, and Kilkenny and all that.
Division Street. Yeah, it's just all the booster.
Yes.
I mean, it's no...
Yeah. And what most schools...
It does include film.
And then if I wanted to throw 10 Gs, I could.
Yeah, and what most schools do now is they just...
take some of the burden off of Phil. He's hurting a little bit.
Yeah, they just come up with a pot, and then in conjunction with the school, wink, wink, nod, nod, the school tells you what they need for each guy and to go out and get. And like Oregon does a Jordan shoe every year. Like they do these player edition Jordan shoes. They put those up for auction. They'll auction off like 100 pair of them, and all that money that's raised goes into the collective. And some of the bids on those shoes are insane.
And they were doing that with the football games this season. They were having the shoe scepter where they're signing them, and some of them have autographs and things like that.
And all that goes to the collective. And most schools now have a universal salary. And like Texas, I think, was the first one to start this. If you were an O lineman at Texas, it was 50 G's. Miami did a universal income for every player that I think was 30. I mean, God, BYU does it. I think BYU, it's like 12. But at least there is. And I want to say the UW one, I don't know what the Oregon's is. I've heard different rumors about Oregon that it's somewhere in the 40 to 60 range. But I think at UW, pretty good authority that UW's is about 35 or 40 minimum. If you're on that roster, you have that. The worst kid on the roster. You're getting that no matter what.
So if you're at Division Street.
Yeah.
So the founders of Division Street are Phil Knight, Pat Kilkenny, Ed Miletus, and Jim Morris.
Yeah, if you don't know, by the way, those are all Miletus Beverage and
heavy hitters.
Heavy hitters.
But Phil Knight, Knight's
Phil's
in another category.
Yeah, he's a different guy.
So if you're those guys, or even just lesser people, I don't mean less. I just mean you're just somebody who wants to help out Oregon athletics. So you're a part of Division Street, and you give, let's say, $250,000 a year or something.
Yes.
Does that bother you that you're helping Phil Knight pay for Oregon players? Because it's like, well, Phil can...
Yeah, you get stuff out of it, though. You get seats on planes, and you get tickets, and you get access, and,
Yeah, that's true.
When you're donating to that level, the one that I not feel bad for, but they do a lot of like, there's like, hey, give us your $200. Like every dollar helps. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, that's just donating to the Alumni Association or whatever.
Yeah.
I still get those offers from Kansas.
And now they want you to donate to the NIL.
Well,
they want you to donate to the collective.
Actually like the latter better. I never donate to the university otherwise.
Yeah.
But you want to see those Rock Chalk Jayhawks raise another banner, so pony up for the collective.
We need a cornerback, so you can get my $50.
Someone asking, is there a cap? No, you can spend whatever you want. If a school raises,
it's all about what you raise.
It's all about what you raise.
This is why when Oregon State and Washington State were going through their BS, this is why I said, hey, some of this NIL stuff gives you a chance to compete. It's hustle. I got to tell you, man, I follow all the stuff that goes on at Kansas.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you there has never been a worse football program than Kansas in recent years. There just hasn't.
It's rough.
But I read up, know some people out there, and dude, they have stepped up to the tune of a lot of money to not only renovate their stadium, but try to compete in the NIL world. Now, they're never going to be Alabama or Oregon or whatever, but they're doing they're hitting the pavement and they're doing their best to keep up.
Yep.
And you can do that. Like, I get that Oregon State doesn't have the resources, or Washington State doesn't have the resources of Oregon or Washington or whatever. I get that. They never have. But you can tap into it. It would seem to me that there's a level of hustle here that if you put in the work, you're going to be able to squeeze more money that could be really useful, rather than just sit and bitch about, we're just behind the 8 ball and now we're screwed. No, get out there and hustle just like everybody else has to.
If you don't raise money in your NIL, you will not be playing with the big boys. Plain and simple. End of story.
Now, you don't have Phil Knight.
No.
But you got some money boosters down there.
One of the things that gets tossed around a lot with the BYU program is, it's BYU.
Yeah.
It's BYU.
The church.
The church is worth over $100 billion.
Yes.
And there are some people that look, you've talked about how this is the doorstep of the church and, the face of it and all this. And, how about you spend some of that tithing money? How about you spend some of that $100 billion on that football program?
Think about the exposure you could get for the LDS church if you just invested in some players.
They don't spend any.
Don't?
No, they don't spend any money on it.
The church won't let them?
No.
Wow.
Well, it's the church's money. I mean, but
they won't help out their own football program?
No. And I think it would be absolutely hilarious if the church, the leaders, whoever it is now, come down from his mountain is like, you know what? We'd like to announce our presence in college football with authority. And here's $4 billion out of our $100 billion.
Dude, that's kind of stone cold that they don't.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't do any. They are so wealthy.
Nope.
And they can't kick down.
They don't do it. It's long been the talk amongst some that if they wanted to,
they could.
They wanted to throw their weight behind it, it would be something else, because that is it's estimated over $100 billion.
Yeah, they're rich as hell. They get 10% of your money no matter what.
They make Phil look like, what's Phil worth?
Oh, I have no idea.
17 bill or whatever?
Oh, probably more than that.
They make Phil look like chump change.
What is Phil Knight's net worth?
He's not worth what the LDS church is worth.
$41 billion.
The church is worth double that.
Yeah, and yet they won't help out their own football team.
They could laugh at Phil. I want them to just
Who's hoarding all that money?
I don't know.
What are they spending that on?
I don't know. Apocalypse bunkers, I couldn't tell you.
Jesus. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Again, I'll just say this. We got a break, but I've suggested this before, and everybody laughs at me. The Saudis got a lot of money, man.
Cougs!
Live college football?
Let's go!
And they want
the Live-sponsored Beavs coming back with a vengeance.
God, it'd be amazing. It'd be the best thing ever.
The Saudis are trying to get into American sports.
God, just sell them the Oregon State football team.
Let's have a meeting.
Let's go.
Yes.
Instead of Oregon
Sell
State,
out.
the Live Beavers.
You want to get back at Phil Knight and the Ducks and all those cocky ass.
Boom.
Yeah.
Saudis, baby.
That's it.
Yes.
And be unapologetic about it.
And your recruit, that Live plane that they have, that's your team plane. You're flying to games on the Live plane.
Now, you may have to have the Saudi oil baron's kid as the kick returner.
That's fine.
He may fumble a few times, but just you can put up with that.
Yeah, we'll deal with it.
We'll
deal with it later.
You'll have nice things.
Nicest facilities in the world.
Telling you.
Everyone gets a Falcon.
All right. Let's get to the Super Bowl. A couple of items on that. Buck with SportsCenter.
Now,
to argue that this is anything but just a giant cash grab. It's a business. And you're right. In business, how much capital can you raise? This is the name of the game.
Well, it's not only that, it's just that I think in the old school model, every school had its big boosters.
Yes.
And you would have to go back to that well. And that's what ADs did, was keep those guys and gals happy and tap into them when you needed them. And now it's kind of opened up the pool where you don't have to always go to T-Boone or whatever. Well, I guess that's not a good example, but you know what I mean.
Yes, the same guy. Although
schools like Kansas who don't have Phil Knight or T-Boone Pickens, they need to go deeper into the well.
But this is why schools like
and can now.
Yeah, this is why those schools like Texas A&M, SMU, Bama, Oregon, this is why they have such an advantage is you do every year you have to come up with somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 million bucks. If you want to play with the big boys, right? And you want to be a top 15 recruiter, you got to come up with 10 plus million every year.
Yeah.
This isn't a one-time thing. It is every single year that you have to come up with this money. The idea was floated out there once, and I don't know if this will ever come to fruition, but it's a hell of a thing. And I do know that this has been kicked around, at least by some people, that if you could find a way to get $1 billion fund and just invest it and have it be just kick out, you think about what an 7 or 8% return would do on something like that. Is there going to be a school that eventually just has a guy that says, you know what? F it. Here is, I'm donating $500 million. This guy's donating $200 million. So what was the SMU thing, right? When SMU got together and said, we don't need TV money. They're like, well, you're costing yourself $200 million over 10 years.
We just need a conference.
Yeah, he's like, whatever. He's like, we're not worried about that.
I mean, Phil could do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
You could put that in and every year take the interest out and pay for NIL.
And so is it going to come to that point? I think eventually it's going to be a moot point and you're going to get to revenue sharing. But even with that, do you still have NIL? That's the thing. If we ever get to the point where you still have NIL and players are being paid, does NIL go away simply because the players are getting cut of the profits? Or is it still going to be a thing where the player's like, yeah, I still want my endorsement money, and if you want me to come here, you're still going to pay? Or again, do we come up with new rules to where NIL goes away, or there's a cap on it, restrictions with revenue sharing? Because at that point, it would all have to be collectively bargained.
And that's where it feels like this whole thing just breaks away from NCAA and everything else, like becoming its own entity that's just affiliated with the schools. I don't know. It seems like we are so far down the road of people not knowing what is next and how to regulate it that I don't know how we ever go back now.
I don't know. All I know is early on in this, you had Alabama and Nick Saban bitch about not having enough money. That's Alabama and all of their wealth. Remember that whole Texas A&M thing? That was merely to his boosters saying, I need more money because Texas A&M is outspending us. And by the way, to the people that are like, why couldn't you just buy the best team with $20 million as opposed to 10 or 15? Texas A&M tried it, and it won them like 4 games. Just because you spend the money doesn't mean anything. Texas A&M did try to do this. They outspent everybody by 2-1, and it led to jackass. It led to a crappy team with a bunch of guys that didn't want to be there and a bunch of like hired guns, and they got their ass run out of town, and their coach got fired. So, look, there is an element to you can't just throw money at something and have it be successful. You still have to have good coaches, good staff, good evaluators, and just hiring mercenaries doesn't always work. But at the same time, if you don't have that 10 to 15 million a year, you're not going to be playing with the big boys because people aren't going places for free. If you want 4- and 5-star kids, there is none of those kids that are going to go sign up for somewhere and be like, well, I'm just going to go play for my scholarship. It ain't happening. This is not the world that we're living in, which is why I love your idea of the Saudi-backed fund.
Let's go.
Remember when Arizona was facing, and still is, Arizona's facing a school-wide like financial disaster. Not athletics, just school. They're in so much trouble. And there were professors that were saying, sell the athletic program. Go sell it to a private equity firm. Like, just put it in someone else's hands so that we don't have to deal with it as a university. That was suggested by university professors. I still think that'd be the greatest thing in the world, to have a privately run NCAA athletic department at a major university. It would be fan-freaking-tastic. Google buys a team.
By the way, you mentioned, well, if we could just come up with this money and then just pay for all this stuff off the interest. They have that already. Every school has one.
Yeah, it's just
the endowment.
Yes.
And so these endowments are not like savings accounts. They're not just sitting on a pile of money. Yeah. Most of the money is earmarked. It can only be designated for specific uses and things like that.
And not for this.
But not all of it. And why don't you just change it? Let's just add a little an arm to the endowment and say, most of them live off the interest anyway. That's not the principal. They're just
living off the interest.
Yeah. So just take a cut of the interest and dump it down to the softball team.
The academics get really bothered by that. That's the same thing with the church.
Well, but they also like the fact that sports brings them all this.
Yep.
The academics can hate sports all they want, but football. What did you say the other day? What Alabama football did for the university
I'll pull
enrollment?
it up. It's insane.
It's unbelievable.
It's insane.
So you hate it all you want. It's bringing in students to you.
Yep.
And making you money.
Yep.
Yeah, I know there's stats that both the Oregon national championship runs had similar impacts. Maybe not to the degree of Alabama, but it matters for everybody.
They said Nick Saban was the greatest investment the University of Alabama ever made. I'll pull up the numbers.
We'll kick a little bit of it back is all I'm saying. All right, it is 5:55 on the Fan.
It's time for a Ducks Report, the inside story on Oregon athletics. Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Well, it's official. Sabrina Ionescu, Stephen Curry, three-point shootout at the All-Star weekend, and Sabrina confirms today, I'll shoot from the NBA distance. Doesn't want the knuckle draggers coming after her when she beats Steph Curry.
I love that. Yeah. What do you think Paper Epiphanies thinks?
I think they're putting all their cards on Sabrina. I'm going to go ahead and bet on that Curry guy, but that's just me.
Oh, you said. Get to that tomorrow.
We do have the Saban effect, though. When Saban arrived at Alabama in 2007, Alabama's enrollment was 25,000 students. When Saban left, it was 40,000 students.
That's massive.
The national average growth has been about 9% during that time. Alabama had a 60% growth, but the big one is the type of student. Alabama went from over 80% of their student body being in-state. And if you know, obviously in-state tuition, $11,000 at the University of Alabama, out-of-state tuition, $32,000. And now, believe it or not, more than half of all Alabama students are from outside of the state. So they're saying $130 million that they paid Saban over those 16 seasons, and they're saying that that has meant to the University of Alabama somewhere to the tune of about $1.5 billion. Thus, Nick Saban was the greatest investment that university ever made.
And so when those academics bitch about that, shut up.
There you go.
Point to that.
Yep. And you see it when Oregon wins, and they know when Oregon wins a Rose Bowl or whatever, enrollment increases, applications, all that stuff. And they originally they call it the Doug Flutie effect, because when Flutie had his miracle at Boston College, that was the first time that they saw a giant explosion at BC. So they actually call that the Flutie effect.
All right, time to move on to the club. Did they really find Amelia Earhart's plane? You're not buying it?
Well, I just know that the guy, we'll talk about it. I need proof.
Well, he has proof. There's sonar imagery.
Well, again, what does that prove other than they found a plane that crashed?
Well, you know she was flying a Boeing 737 MAX 9, right?
It's that damn door.
It's a door plug.
Back in 30s, there's been a problem since 37.
The club is next on The Fan.
Hey, it's Suk wishing you a happy 2024. Started off
I'm exhausted. I have sportsed so hard today.
Playing those drops is no easy errand.
No,
We
you're
have
right.
sports so hard today. We really have. We brought the heat. Now I'm forced to watch the Pacers and Celtics. The lack of sports options on my television the last 2 days. For God's sakes, yesterday I watched a rodeo.
I think, unfortunately, you may have to start embracing some college hoops. Had another upset brewing tonight as Georgia Tech may take down number 3 North Carolina.
Here's a fun sports question. Do you know who the coach at Georgia Tech is?
Nope.
Do you want to guess?
I don't.
Dennis Scott.
No.
Jerry Stackhouse.
Idiot.
Kenny Anderson. I'm now just naming Georgia Tech players.
No and no. Idiots.
Hey, Rock Chalks. No, they're not on.
They're on at 6.
I thought Kansas.
Oh, is it 6? No, yeah, we're on.
Who is it?
I just clicked on it and it didn't.
Oklahoma State.
It said no.
Well, they got to wait for this game to.
Yeah, wait.
Who's the coach?
Damon Stoudemire.
Oh,
Mighty
yeah,
Mouse.
I do remember that.
Yeah. He's at Georgia Tech, and he's about to beat North Carolina.
Yeah.
In Chapel Hill.
Suck it,
Well,
Carolina.
hold on. It's a 1-point game now.
Oh.
It was an 8-point
Never
game.
mind.
North Carolina on a little run here.
So, yeah, I've got Amelia Earhart news.
Kinda.
Out there.
This is a little. Come on.
What do you mean?
Did you see the photo, the sonar image? What?
I did.
I saw the story today.
I mean, looks. Yeah.
It looks like nothing.
Looks like a plane.
It does?
Yeah.
How is that a plane?
Well, there's wings and a tail and a body.
Is there wings?
Yeah.
Oh boy, you're making
an outline.
you're making a bold statement there.
I don't think it's that bold.
I saw the article today saying Amelia Earhart's plane found, like mystery solved, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's great, like one of the great mysteries.
Well, they're walking that back.
Yeah, like DB Cooper, and so then I click on it, and all they found was one sonar image of what I guess, like I was as I read through the article. There was a guy from like some sonar institute, like one of the world's leading experts, and he goes, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that's a plane, but he goes, it might just be some disturbance in the sonar.
I like that the experts are like, I mean, I guess it could be a plane. Could be.
Could be. And yet we got this dude who, by the way, spent $11 million of his own money to specifically go out and find Amelia Earhart's plane. And he's the one that's like, we found the plane. Maybe there's a conflict of interest
Someone
there.
needs to get that guy in their collective. 11 million bones to find that plane. You could go fund a national championship team.
Yeah, he spent $11 million. He's determined to find this sucker.
Now, do you guys think she might be alive?
No.
Yeah, she and Tupac are hanging out somewhere.
Well, here's the deal.
Yeah.
So Deep Sea Vision, an ocean exploration company based in South Carolina, announced Saturday that it had captured compelling sonar images of what could be Earhart's aircraft at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean.
Or what may just be an airplane. That's all. It may or may not be an airplane. Or Amelia Earhart's airplane.
The discovery was made possible by a high-tech unmanned underwater drone and a 16-member crew, which surveyed more than 5,200 square miles of ocean floor.
It's a lot of ocean floor.
Between September and December, the team spotted the plane-shaped object between Australia and Hawaii, about 100 miles off of Howland Island, which is where Earhart and her navigator, Fred Noonan.
Yeah, people forget that Fred's down there too.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait,
actually,
no, Fred gets no love.
No, Fred whatsoever.
They were supposed,
I didn't even know his name until you guys said it.
Yeah.
They were supposed to refuel, but they never arrived.
Yeah.
The shape of the object in the images closely resembles Earhart's aircraft.
By the way, that is
Lockheed Electra.
That is the most ridiculous statement that's ever been put out.
Both in size and tail.
Isn't it like looking at a Rorschach? It's like, yeah, that looks like a cow.
It resembles her plane.
Yeah.
Those like ink blot tests. It's like, yeah, I can see maybe a flower pot there.
What do you mean it resembles her plane?
Well, it looks like a plane.
So that it could resemble any plane, not specifically hers.
What? It doesn't even.
Well, that's right where she went down. Come on, where's your whimsy?
They did say that I found a couple of objective articles, and one of the guys who's an expert at this sort of thing, he simply said that if I was looking for Earhart and I found something on the ocean floor that close to the island, I would certainly circle back and take a look at that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I guess they know she was somewhat close because her radio signals were getting stronger as she got closer to the island. So they do know that she was making good progress towards the island, and then she goes down.
I guarantee that's her plane. Come on.
Also, what did we ever figure out what the whole deal is with the Bermuda Triangle and why people lose signal and contact there?
I think
like
some people think it's like a magnetic sort of, that it screws up instruments and whatnot.
Oh, and I knew that, I guess, but like, why does it happen there and nowhere else on Earth?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I couldn't tell you. But also, another expert was like, yeah, I mean, I guess it could be, but he goes, it doesn't have twin engines. Said it doesn't look anything like that. But he also said, like, when a plane crashes at that speed, thing could get completely broken
Stuff
apart.
goes everywhere.
Yeah, he's like, you have no idea what this thing could be.
F that guy.
F him.
This
I love the guy that said, it looks like the shape of Earhart's plane.
Closely resembles.
Do yourself a favor and Google the sonar image of that thing and tell me if that closely resembles her airplane.
So this guy's name is Tony Romeo, which is awesome. And he said he was optimistic.
I don't know, Jim. Is that really the plan?
I don't know, Jim. All that combined, he said, you'd be hard-pressed to convince me that this is not an airplane and not Amelia's plane, he said. They do plan to go investigate the area where the images were taken sometime this year.
It seems like his argument is, we'll prove that it's not her plane.
Yeah, that is your. I think there's no other way that this could be anything but her airplane. Prove me wrong.
Well, because he knows somebody's going to pony up to pay for him to go down there and check it out.
Probably. And they said they could send a robot down there and, see what the crabs have been at for the last.
Hey, you know what they should do? They should
years.
sell seats on a submarine and send it down there.
Yeah, they could use a video game controller to see what the wreckage looks like.
How far was that sub down when it went kablooey?
Too soon? I don't think they know. Do they?
No, because they lost contact before they lost communication with it before they think it actually succumbed. So they don't know.
By the way, I'm looking at it. It was they're estimating about 13,000 feet. This airplane is 16,000 feet down. So just saying, careful. You signed up to go down and check out Amelia Earhart's plane?
No, I'll just wait for him to hoist it up on the, like with the crane.
Yeah.
Isn't that what they'll do?
Well, I do know that, like, obviously the sea life is...
and then I'll look at it.
I
think that'd be cool if it is.
It's kind of, they've nibbled, but is there still a skeleton?
Could be.
Remains down there? Like strapped into the seat and all that?
Could be.
Wouldn't that be something?
Wearing little goggles?
Boy, I'm
cute little scarf.
Like, that would be... I don't know. Like,
It'd be awesome.
That's weird. Well, it's not awesome. It
is awesome.
It's creepy. I don't know.
Well, then they could bury her remains.
Her and Fred are just sitting there strapped into the plane. Meanwhile, the crabs and the barracudas and whatnot have been down there eating for the last... When did that thing go down? 37?
1937. What if they're in a compromising position?
Jeez. Too soon. They're like, well, we're going down. Might as well go out with a bang.
Two comments from the Vancouver Ford text line here. One says, that's totally her plane, dude. I believe everything Rob says. He's my go-to for knowledge of all things.
That's right.
And then also, combat engineer here. We use Xbox controllers to control our IED investigating robots in the military.
Oh, there you go. So that Titanic sub was onto something.
Until it blew up.
Until it imploded at 13,000 feet.
God.
Let's just hope that we get a better sub going down to the Earhart wreckage.
What if they're with Chester Copperpot?
D.B. Cooper's down there with him. They find his money bag. Is that the greatest? Because, again, the article, I'm not certain why it's such a big deal all these years later, although they're saying she was like the Taylor Swift of her time. Like, she was.
What does that mean?
Well, they say she was
worth billions?
Well, no, she was like the most famous woman on the planet. She was iconic. But it is weird that, like, one lady crashed, 1937, and we're still like, it's the greatest mystery of all time. Is it, or did she just crash into the Pacific Ocean and die? Like, we know what happened.
Don't you think, okay, let's just, for a moment, let's assume that it is the greatest mystery of all time.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that Malaysian airline...
Exactly, that's way better. That's way better.
Yeah, it wasn't bigger. It was like 370.
And we've got it.
The technology.
The black box, all that. That thing vanished.
Gone.
Why isn't that? Exactly. That mystery is 1,000 times better than in some janky 1937 plane that was flying over and we know what happened.
Well, there is more whimsy involved. Like, we have less technology to understand what was happening, so like conjecture is more fair game here.
Oh man, I just, if that's the greatest mystery of all time, we need better mysteries. But that's what they're calling it. I'm like, it's not a mystery. It ran out of fuel and crashed. We know it ran out of fuel. Like, what? The only mystery is where did it crash?
Well, right here.
Right there.
Go get it.
What about is the Kennedy thing still a mystery, or do we know that we just off him?
Somebody recommended to me a Kennedy podcast, a JFK podcast the other day. And he was like, I promise you, it's really good. You got to listen to it. I'm like, you know what? I'm done with that. We've turned over every stone.
Right. I want so badly for there to be something more there, but so has everyone else for 50 years. So or 60, 70, whatever it is, it's not coming out, I don't think.
Yeah, it's like the one dude that they made the Scorsese movie, like the We Paint Houses. Like that guy came out, or no, that was Hoffa. Sorry, that wasn't Kennedy. But like, yeah, my bad. I was like, yeah, that's the Jimmy Hoffa thing. But even that, like, someone could come out and be like, I shot Kennedy, and then someone else would come out a day later and be like, nah, no, he didn't.
I shot him.
I went to the grassy knoll in Dallas,
me too.
and
it sucks.
It's kind of bunk. There's just like an X on the street where it took place, and then there's like a kind of a tour guide type guy, and then he brings over some old man who was allegedly there that day and saw everything, and we're like, okay.
What's he say?
Oh, he's like, yeah, so there shot came from over here, and this was over here. We're like, okay, so you're telling everyone the things we already knew.
Yeah, trust me. If you're in Dallas, sure, go check it out. What else are you doing in Dallas? But I'm with Buck. It is the most underwhelming.
Nothing to see here.
You're like, you have this image of the grassy knoll, and you're like,
it's kind of a little knoll, and there's like a bendy. The street makes a soft bend around it, and you can see the the building.
I got a little more out of it than you did.
Really?
What did you get out of it?
I've been multiple times. I just think it's one of those places you just sit and look around and just you let your mind kind of wander a little bit. You know, it's like it's kind of interesting to.
I still think that controversy or that conspiracy is interesting.
You have the suppository or the
suppository. Whoa! What were you doing in Dallas? Get something more out of your trip to Dallas.
It was great.
Rob's like, you got the suppositories. Buck, I don't know about you. I didn't go on the official tour, but no one gave me a suppository.
Maybe that's why our tours were so unfulfilling. So
I didn't get that.
The library thing or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
The book depository, whatever they call it.
You can't even, but they glass it off so you can't even go and see.
Don't you just stand around and go, wow, that guy, he was up there, and there's the grassy knoll. And
wait, so do either of you have an opinion about what you really think happened?
Yeah, we offed him.
No. Wait, what?
We offed him.
Who's we? I didn't.
The government? The government. The government offed him.
What?
We killed him. The CIA.
Who killed? Oh, the CIA. But he's the president.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
should have done what he was told.
Which was what?
Don't
find Amelia's plane.
Exactly. Find her plane. I think Zoolander covered it. I think it was about Sandsabelt slacks. It was about the Cuban embargo. Everything I needed to know, I learned from Zoolander. It's the Aaron Rodgers theory. By the way, I'm looking up the 17 greatest mysteries of all time. They got Earhart at 14.
Well, so what else have we not really discussed there?
What's number one?
They got all this stuff. They got Jack the Ripper, which again, that dumbass killed 5 people. 5? Like all those 1888, 5 people.
That just seems more like exciting lore than anything else. I don't know.
How many unsolved serial killers do we've got walking around right now in the United States that have killed more than 5 people?
Hundreds.
5? Oh, there's the Loch Ness Monsters there.
Stupid.
We got the Roanoke Colony disappearance.
If the Loch Ness is on there, does that mean Bigfoot's on there too?
I'm looking here. We had an entire colony from North Carolina disappeared.
Yeah, wait a minute. How is Loch Ness on there? It's not even a real thing.
Well, according to this, it's on there. Mysterious creature in Scotland's Loch Ness. Been circulating for generations. I don't know. It's on there. Zodiac murderer.
By the way, that Loch Ness thing's worse than this Amelia photograph.
That I agree. 100%. Couldn't agree more. That thing is beyond
it's stupid.
Yeah. Trust me. And I went to Loch Ness and...
Did you sit and stare at the water and wait for it to pop its head up?
No, I got naked and swam around, and it bothered a lot of people. Oh. They thought I was being disrespectful.
Hey, no.
You know.
You just wanted Nessie to come out and play.
Well, there was a lot of me breaching my bare white ass out of the water and being like, look, it's Nessie, which I thought was hilarious. But several Scotsmen, mostly Scots ladies, they did not find it nearly as funny as I did.
Take a joke, ladies. He's trying to be the monster.
Yeah, you old bags.
Also, I don't recommend it. There's a significant amount of shrinkage. That water is ridiculously cold.
All right, well, we'll get the rest of the list.
Not my proudest moment coming out of the water.
We also have a little something called And So It Begins coming up. It is 6:20 on the Fan.
We like threesomes.
The answer is always yes, and it's a wonderful lifestyle.
1080 The Fan invites you to play in the first annual Fan Winter Golf Classic at
The pirate attack, though, that sounds like maybe.
Scientists have posed a theory that fumes from alcohol on board caused an explosion.
Well, where are the bodies?
Exactly, and the ship's fine. There was nothing blown up. So
these people.
Yeah, I don't know. So there's that one. DB Cooper's on here. This is kind of creepy. Have you ever heard the living statues? I guess from 1917 to 1928, 500,000 people were affected with a condition right out of a horror film, and it was started in Europe, made its way over to the United States, and they called it EL, encepha something lethargica, aka the sleeping sickness, and it made its way in the early, like I said, the early part of the century, and over 500,000 people were affected with this. About a third died, and the others that recovered still never found themselves being able to really communicate with anyone, and they became rigid like statues, and they were completely aware of what was going on, and but had no way to communicate. They couldn't speak, they couldn't write, they became stiff as a board. And we still don't know to this day what caused it.
How many peeps you said?
500,000.
Oh.
That's 500,000 people, and we have no idea. There's been some theories about, what happened with it. Like, was it a form of a parasite? Was it a brain disease? But no one ever knows. And so, I'd never heard of that, but that's kind of freaky. What was some other ones? There's a couple. This one I thought was pretty weird. The Pollock sisters, and some people say this proves reincarnation. 1957, two English sisters, the Pollocks, died in a tragic car accident when they were 6 years old. A year later, the mother gave birth to twins, just like they had the first time around. And when the twins were old enough to talk, they began identifying and requesting toys that belonged to their dead sisters. They pointed out landmarks that only the dead sisters would know. They had memories that only the sisters would know. They were scared by cars. They would seemingly were terrified. They didn't want to get in a car. They didn't want to ride in a car, saying that the car was going to come get us. And then after the point where they turned 6 and got past where the sisters had died in the car wreck, the memory started to fade. And then eventually, by the time they were 8 or 9, it just went away. And so some people are asking, did that prove reincarnation?
That's pretty funky.
Yeah, no one really knows kind of what happened there. So like I said, some of these I've never even heard before. The other one was the Colonel, the Lost City of Z. They made a movie out of it starring Charlie Hunnam. There was a British explorer, again, at the beginning of the century that set off for the Amazon to find the lost city, like El Dorado of gold. And we don't know what happened to him. And they've since sent other expeditions in to find him, like over the last 100 years, and a bunch of them have disappeared too. So no one knows what happened to him, and no one will. And some of these are like even in the 80s and 90s, and part of those expeditions disappeared. And we still don't know what happened to any of those people.
They're in the jungle?
Yeah, they went into the Amazon and they've never seen it again.
Having been to the Amazon, that is not so much of a mystery to me as
the jungle.
It's
just because it's so dense and dangerous and all that.
Yes, I mean it's massive.
Yeah, if you read that book, The Lost City of Z, the conditions that those guys went in, it's unbelievable. The amount of disease and stuff.
Well, that, and then there's locals that'll cut your balls off.
Yeah, that'll get you.
Yeah.
So everyone assumes again that he's been killed, but a lot of people that on his expedition, and he was the most famous explorer of his time. He was the Amelia Earhart of the British explorers. And then, like I said, a bunch of others have disappeared going to look for him. There's the Flannan Isles lighthouse where a bunch of the light keepers kept disappearing. They vanished. We don't know what happened there. No bodies were ever found. And again, different theories about abductions and all this.
Somebody text in and I'm going to butcher this, but I'll give it a stab. The Antikythera mechanism. You ever heard of that?
I have heard of this.
I have not. I'm searching.
It's kind of wild. Isn't it like maybe like the first known computer or something like that?
Well, it's a cultural treasure. It was found in 1901, and it is an ancient Greek astronomical calculator.
It's basically, it looks kind of like a giant gear or wheel, right?
Well, it's in fragments, but yes, part of them, yes. It's like, I guess it's in 82 parts.
It seems like it might be kind of like a more complicated sundial, but like...
Correct.
Because I think it could measure they thought it could measure both Olympic cycles in 4 years and also like the astrological movement.
Pretty wild, dude. Like and it's, I guess it's baffled science and scholars for years. Many disciplines tackle it and they can't figure it out, but they said that microfocus X-ray computer tomography, basically CT, in 2005 decoded the structure of the rear of the machine, but the front remains largely unsolved. X-ray CT revealed inscriptions describing the motions of the sun, moon, and all 5 planets known in antiquity and how they were displayed at the front as an ancient Greek cosmos.
That's creepy as hell.
Isn't that wild?
That's crazy. No, I'd never heard of that.
And then it has inscriptions specifying complex planetary periods, and it forced new thinking on the mechanization of this cosmos, but no previous reconstruction has come close to matching this data. Damn, dude.
Yeah.
It's like the pyramids.
Yeah, so that stuff is I've never heard of that one. This one I have heard of, the Tungstica event. This was the one in Siberia. 1908, 1,000 miles of forest.
I heard about this one.
In Siberia was flattened. And we didn't have any weapon at the time that could do this. I mean, think about 1,000 square miles. And I'm telling you, the Siberian forest just leveled, just completely flattened. And no one knows. The best they can figure is maybe an asteroid hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't know. And it exploded over the ground. That's been one. And the number one unsolved mystery, according to Reader's Digest, and they went through like 20 of these, and we talked about it. And they said that without a doubt, this is number one because it took place in modern times.
JFK?
The disappearance of Malaysian Flight 370.
Oh,
there we go.
Yeah. There we go. Okay.
They're saying that in this day and age, with all the technology we have, the fact that we have no idea what happened or where this thing was and may never be found, they're saying that there's never been anything in modern times that comes close to this.
There was a Netflix like docu-series on that, and I really wanted there to be some like groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah.
It just kind of told us stuff we knew and like went through the series.
Well,
of
they
events.
don't have anything.
I know, and that's what makes it fascinating. I want more.
That's what's cool about JFK is like there's a lot of of stuff that leads to conspiracy theories. Malaysia was it 370?
Yeah.
There isn't.
No.
There's just we have nothing. There's no answer.
It's amazing that a plane today, a modern airline 47 with all those people, can vanish off the face of the earth, never to be seen again, and have no idea what happened to it. That blows my mind. That's number one.
All right, would you like the story of the Neuralink implant?
Yeah, I saw that. The first one went in, right?
Or a woman falling in a dumpster and getting compacted?
Ew. I'm gonna go. Give me the Neuralink.
Okay. Neuralink talk next. Here's Buck.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Ryan Buckley with this SportsCenter update. First on the Fan. On the hardwood, the Blazers were winners last night. Today, a couple of their young players get the nod for the NBA's All-Star Weekend. Rookie Scoot Henderson and second-year man Shaedon Sharp will both participate in the Panini Rising Stars Challenge. Oregon Ducks legend Sabrina Ionescu also going to be a part of NBA All-Star Weekend as she takes on Stephen Curry in a three-point contest. Sabrina confirmed that she's happy to shoot from NBA distance. Ionescu is the all-time record holder for best scorer in a three-point contest in either league. Tomorrow night, a familiar face returns to Rip City as Damian Lillard and the Bucks will visit the Blazers. Lillard's first game back in Portland since the trade. Today, Portland's Adidas headquarters named their basketball facility after him. And some MLB to PDX news today as the Portland Diamond Project has released a statement indicating they intend to attempt to bid and purchase the Redtail Golf Center site as a ballpark site for $50 million. For sports scores and stories in 30 minutes, I'm Ryan Buckley from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook powered by BetMGM. For all the pro football postseason action, visit SpiritMountain.com.
Every day, get the NFL headlines delivered straight to you. Follow the Best Football Show with Brian Baldinger on the free Odyssey app or wherever you
this was just a couple of years ago. He bought some curtains that contained fabrics that had photos of celebrities on them. There are 8 celebrities on the curtains.
Okay.
He bought them at a store in Finland or something. So, internet, and he posted on there, he was like, I cannot figure out who the 6th celebrity is. Well, internet, as you know, figures out everything.
Yes.
They still have not figured out who this 6th celebrity is. Adriana Lima is on there as celebrity number 1, and you can go find the photo of which the photo that, like, the original photo is printed on the curtains, right?
Sure.
So you can match the two.
Yeah.
Very obvious. Celebrity number 1 is Adriana Lima. Josh Holloway is celebrity number 2.
Seems like a very odd collection of celebrities, by the way.
Lima number 3, Jessica Alba number 4, some guy named Travis Fimmel, Ian Somerhalder,
Travis Fimmel,
and Orlando Bloom. Celebrity number 6 looks like a woman, although there are some who believe it
could
it's
be
a man. It kind of looks a little bit like who's
kind of a little Bowie-esque, the facial feature wise.
Yeah, and who's freaking oh my god,
I don't know.
Val Kilmer. Looks a bit like Val Kilmer.
A younger, thinner Val Kilmer.
Yeah, but I think this is a woman. But they can't figure out who it is.
Huh.
And the internet can't find the photo. They can't.
And have they gone back to the company to try to ask, like, who designed it? And
you would think that would be a fairly easy.
I would think you could reverse engineer that and figure out, go back up the line and see.
Well, it's such a weird collection of celebrities. Like, I mean, are any of those? None of them are like, you would think that random odd collection, like Travis Fimmel's the guy that plays in that's why I was like, Travis Fimmel, he's in Vikings. He was the main character in Vikings. Like, that dude's not super famous. Like, you're telling me that you can't go back and find out who was printing his face on curtains?
Look up Olga Sarova.
Olga Sarova.
And there's a picture of her at the 2007 Olympus Fashion Week.
Oh, I see her.
Some think that's celebrity number 6. Another potential candidate is actor Taylor Kitsch.
Oh, John Riggins from Friday Night Lights.
I know Taylor Kitsch. So you're telling me it could be either the Ukrainian hot or Taylor Kitsch?
That's what they're saying.
It does kind of look like Taylor Kitsch from Friday Night Lights. Riggins.
Huh.
I see that one.
I'm fascinated by this.
Here's somebody who searched. They conducted a 1-week investigation on Getty Images, searching through the entire 1998 to 2007 Getty Image archive of every photo that was taken by photographers responsible for the other celebrity photos appearing on the fabric.
Yeah, I'm seeing it here.
While they were unsuccessful in finding a matching source photo, they did list a number of celebrities they felt, based on analysis of all the photos. Olivia Wilde, Kristen Bell, Kate Hudson, Johnny Depp, Brad Pitt, Hilary Duff, Angelina Jolie. It's none of those. They indicate that Wilde was the most likely candidate since she shared a similar facial structure as the illustration. Olivia Wilde.
I'm also seeing...
That's not Olivia Wilde.
River Phoenix, Evangeline Lilly, Heath Ledger, Nicolette Sheridan, Jodie Foster.
That in no way looks like any of those.
Well, who is it?
It's a little Heath Ledger-y.
What?
It's a woman.
That's not a man. That's a woman. Heath Ledger? What world are you getting Heath Ledger? I guess that's the mystery of the whole thing. Well, now you're going to flummox me with this stupid Celebrity 6 fabric. I still can't believe that we can't figure that out.
Although I just Googled that Olga, and it doesn't really look like her.
No,
either.
I don't think so.
Who is that?
Well, it's funny is because in all the other photos, like you said, you can see, you can find the exact photo that was taken and put on the fabric.
They cannot find the photo. The internet can't find it.
What if she's not real? What if it's like an AI?
That's what I was
like. Someone's just effing with.
Or
you.
also, what if it like one of the, what if you said it was a curtain?
Yeah.
What if the curtain designers like slipped one by and's like, you know what, I'm gonna put myself in this. Like, what if it's the gal who made the curtain and she's like, no one's gonna notice.
Right.
It's a boss move, by the way.
I tell you what, though,
people off like that.
You don't want the Reddit community sniffing around.
No.
Like they're gonna figure it out.
They'll find it.
But they haven't yet.
Yeah, this one, the River Phoenix one is pretty good. Like, like, I'm looking here, like, people, the Reddit, like you said, the Reddit people are doing deep dives. The River Phoenix one, boy, it's not bad. But it'd be like River Phoenix if he had like bad plastic surgery. Like River Phoenix meets Michael Jackson. I don't know if it's ever been debunked because this was like 20 years ago when I was living in Florida. But the Coral Castle, have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's like in South Miami. I forget the name of the town, but it's just south of Miami. Like when you're driving down Highway 1, like A1A, like going to the Keys. There's some dude like in the 1950s or something. Oh, God, it's been so long. But I guess this gal broke up with him and he was so like heartbroken or whatever that he built a castle out of coral by himself, and he did it all at night.
Cool.
And it's like the most amazing thing, and like no one can figure out how he did it. Like he's got like a door.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, he's got a door that's like several thousand pounds, and it's like laser leveled, and you can just push your finger on it and it spins around. Like no one can figure out how he built it on his own. And he told people that he understood how the pyramids were built.
Yeah.
And
so there's no mortar. Like it's just
big.
The weight of
thousands of pieces, 1,000 pounds of these coral slabs. And it's an amazing thing to see. And one man with no modern technology built that son of a bitch in the middle of the night where no one could see him. It's ridiculous. When you see it in person, you're just like, there's no way.
Well, he had to have help, right?
No, he built it himself.
How do they know that?
Well, because that was
Maybe he had some buddies.
Came
over with some drinks.
Even so, like I don't know if anyone else. I just remember going there and being like, "What in the f is that?"
Have you ever been to you've been to this, like, for example, the Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
We went to Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
Those ruins. If you look closely at the structures, and the rock and just the lines, the perfect lines and how they fit together,
it's crazy.
It's nuts.
But at least they had thousands of slaves, and they did it over years and years and years. This dude built it in like a year on his own.
Yeah, that part is what makes it insane. Like I think Angkor Wat is the same way. It was like the hidden city in the jungle, and they unearthed it. It was kind of like Machu Picchu. Like,
you get enough people together and whatever, but how does one dude just on his own? How does he move a 3,000-pound piece of coral and then have it perfectly laser leveled to be a swiveling door? Like,
well, how did the Romans build the aqueducts and have them work for centuries? I don't know.
Well, again, slave labor, man.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. Yeah, there's some stuff here that he would have to have had a crane or something.
Yeah, and he didn't, because people were watching him, which is why he built it at night. Anyway, it was
pretty cool.
It was like $14 to go, and it was like one of those you're driving through. They're like Coral Castle.
They charge you $14 to see that?
Yeah, well, you get to walk in it and stuff.
Jesus,
it's probably gone up. But what else was I doing?
Well, I was gonna say that's the best thing I've heard about Florida in a long time. It's not saying much. But
I was driving through, and I was like, I don't know,
kind of cool.
Why not? I'll go check this thing out.
All right, we will wrap it up next on The Fan.
The Fan invites you to play in the first annual Fan Winter Golf Classic at X Golf Tualatin and X Golf Vancouver, Tuesday, February 27th. The afternoon round at X Golf Tualatin is almost sold out, and the others are filling up fast.
Let's go while we're young.
Danny and Dusty and Isaac and Suk will broadcast live. Fabulous prizes are on the line, including a foursome at this summer's 10th annual Fan Golf Classic. Sign your threesome up now at 1080thefan.com.
Have you heard of Nepo billionaires? Celebrity kids inheriting untold billions? Take Jay-Z and Beyonce, who are handing down over $1 billion to their kids, much of it in their blue chip art collection. That's right, for the richest families in the world, fine art is a vehicle for transferring
No. Well, it's kind of a mystery. Somebody was texting in about the Ukrainian woman that won Miss Japan.
What?
Yeah.
You heard right.
Yeah, she's a 26-year-old model. Her name is Carolina Shino, and she was born in the Ukraine, or in Ukraine.
It's not the Ukraine.
Sorry. And she...
Born in the Japan.
And the Iraq.
And such.
She won Miss Japan 2024.
Well, is she a resident of Japan?
Did she become a citizen?
Yeah, you have to be.
Okay, so you have to be a citizen. You can't live there.
But she's
But she's not Japanese.
It's only weird, like, if an African-American gal won Miss USA.
Well, yeah, Miss America, any other race would be totally normal and fine.
Yeah. It is so weird because, like, my gal being from Japan, when you go to Japan, like, you're used to being in the United States where we are very diverse. You go to Japan, guess what you see?
No one that looks like you.
Japanese.
They're all Japanese.
Yeah, like, when you look at, like, our Olympic team, you're going to have some Hispanic people on there. You got some African-Americans. You got some, you got your whites. You got everything. You go to look at the Chinese team, guess what you see? A lot of Chinese. Like, they're not the diversity thing is thrown off when we went over there, my gal met up with a bunch of her friends from high school, and the weirdest one is she's got a friend that she's from Switzerland, but her mom is like quarter Japanese, and she grew up in Switzerland and then England and then Japan, so she has an English accent but speaks perfect Japanese. She speaks better Japanese than my gal, and you're not sure what she is. You see a little bit of it throws you for a complete loop. And she speaks like 4 different languages, all of them with perfect accents. It's a mind bender. You're like, I don't know what you got going on.
Well, apparently 10 years ago, there was a biracial woman that was crowned Miss Japan.
Was it a big deal?
Well, of course, as you can imagine, yes. She had an African-American dad, but her mother was Japanese. This
She's just
girl,
Ukrainian.
she has no Japanese parentage.
I bet the Japanese aren't happy about that.
It's not going over well.
No, I wouldn't think so.
But I just, it's a pageant. Why not just rig it and say, like, look, you can't win this.
Well, there was recently a lot of upset over what I think it was Miss Netherlands being transgender. That pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah, well, anytime that's gonna honk a lot of people off. Like when you get named Woman of the Year, but you were born a man. Yeah, people get a little sensy about that. You get very, very angry. Yeah, Miss Japan, not Japanese. Although, I mean, if you become a citizen, right?
She is Japanese.
Yeah, then you are Japanese, right?
Yeah, she's a naturalized Japanese citizen.
Yeah.
So shut up.
You imagine though, like,
she probably shouldn't have won, right? Like, why is she Miss Japan?
Because again,
you can't be Miss Japan.
Sure, you can.
Come on, no, that's a knock against you.
Imagine how angry we would get if we had someone that immigrated here to the United States, became a citizen, and then won Miss USA, and someone was like, "You weren't even born here." Although that's would probably happen.
Yeah.
People would be doing that.
They would.
It's a little
and
weird.
that's Japan's different.
Go Japan.
Get out of here with that. Get out of here, Ukraine. Go win your own pageant.
You can't say, well, they can't have them. They're being bombed right now.
Yeah.
So
let's steer clear of that one.
I would have gotten out of there too. Yeah. It's you warmonger.
Look,
like if a Palestinian girl becomes Miss Israel.
Well,
yeah.
Do we not have rules in this world?
Could be a little awkward.
All right.
That's enough for today.
That's enough.
We've done a lot.
Disgusted.
Me too.
I think we'll be back tomorrow. You guys want to show up tomorrow?
Yeah, why not?
That's the plan, right?
What else have I got to do?
That's the plan.
I'm not doing anything.
3 to 7 on the Fan. Good night.